Are you ready? Debate fans, are you ready? For the handful in attendance and the thousands watching across the world, brought to you tonight by Jeranism, the #1 YouTube channel in all of existence. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Make sure your argument is tight. Wait, what? You must got proof if you so right. Wait, what? Don't get dismissed on false claims, cause you gotta bring the truths and the facts. It don't matter if you're talking about racism, sexism, scientism, paganism, socialism, communism. Talk about capitalism, atheism, globalism. What about creationism? It don't matter what the ism, live on debateism.
Welcome one, welcome all. It is time for another episode of Debatism. You got it right. We've got a barn burner tonight. Let's bring up the thumbnail for you. We've got episode 8. It is 11/14. 23, 6 questions and 8 claims in 90 minutes. We've got Brenda debates her second time on the program, going against the rookie, Pitch Lumin, who has never been here before, but is here now. And we should have some fun. So let's bring everybody on board, make sure we are good to go. I think we are good, other than I need to finish off this notification, which I will do. There we go. In the middle of you guys saying hello to everybody, let's start with Brenda. Brenda, go ahead and say hello to everybody and who you are and all that fun stuff. You're on mute, though. Let's do it audibly.
Let's do it audibly.
Yeah,
yes, my name is Brenda, and I'm a globe earther, and I'm here to debate the question about is the Earth flat or a globe. That's what I'm here for.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. We do appreciate it. And Pitch, go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone as well.
Hello, everybody. I'm Pitch Lumin, or Nathan, and I'm here to talk about the Earth and how it is empirically demonstrated to be planar over bodies of water at rest, measured still, but that's not so much the focus tonight, but it's still measured still, whether we talk about it or not. So here to present some observations of the natural world and have a back and forth with Brenda. So about the cosmology. Thank you very much, Jaren, for hosting this as well.
Excellent. We do have a quick sponsor. We've got, well, actually, we've got 2 of them. But to start out, we do have jjcbdrub.com. And now I lost that. There it is. And you can go to jjscbdrub.com. He does the back to Eden, no tilling, the organic, no tools, no pesticides, all that stuff. And he grows it himself. And definitely check it out. If you want to get some of this high potency rub, do that, please. And we've got another sponsor, and that is the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. I'm wearing the shirt right now. It says flatearthdave.com. That's where you can get it. I am not the Flat Earth Dave, but I am better looking and taller and not Jewish. And there's a lot of things that I got going for me. So let's get on with the show. And we're going to start out with, let's let Pitch do the picking because he is new. So you get a choice here, Pitch. We're going to do this coin toss. You get to pick Neil deGrasse Tyson or Bill Nye. I'm sorry to put you in that predicament, but.
Oh, can I guess the side of the coin, please?
Nope.
I'll take. Let's see. Tails never fails. I'll go with Bill.
Bill. Okay. Let's see how it goes. Did I select that? Okay, Bill it is, and let's see. You got no.
You double NASA's budget.
Now we got to double NASA's budget. Way to go. So,
you double.
Brenda, do you want to go first or second?
Let the newbie go first.
Okay, sounds good. We're gonna put Pitch up there. Pitch. We're gonna start out and just to give everybody a little heads up. Yeah. What's so funny? You all right? Hey, I didn't make that. If anybody wants to use that coin, they can. They go to Jeranism.fun. Jeranism.fun is how you get to that. There's actually somebody made that website. So if you go to jeranism.com/debateism, it'll take you to the place where, oh, there we go, where you can get some information on these debates. And then also down here, you can see the format. So just to let you know what we're going through. We're just doing the. By the way, just to remind you guys, you each get a 2-minute takeover at any point. You can use it during somebody's intro, during somebody's claims, wherever. If they're just saying something and you want to get your point in and you want the floor, just kind of wave me down, show me that you want it, and then we'll put the other person on mute. You get 2 full minutes to address the audience, and then also you can, if you want additional time, you can ask twice for an additional minute. Other than that, we've got the intro, which is going to be 3 minutes each, followed by a 1-minute rebuttal or response, and then we will go into the 3 questions, and then we'll go into the 4 claims, and we'll do a conclusion, short one, 2 minutes each, and then we'll read your super chat. So if you want a super chat, you can do so through Rockfin Tipping or YouTube super chat, and we'll get to those at the very end. Sound good?
Super chat.
Super chat.
Super chat.
All right, here we go, guys. It is 6 questions. It is 8 claims. It is 90 minutes. It starts now. It is Debatism. Let's get it on. Pitch, you got a 3-minute intro. You may begin when you are ready.
Okay. Sounds good. So that was a really declarative statement, by the way, for Neil deGrasse Tyson, just a straight up declaration of doubling the budget, which, by the way, if we're going to take NASA's budget and we're going to, instead of using that funds to send stuff into space, we could help people with that money here on Earth. So we could double it and then give one day Compton, then Chicago, then Flint the next day, and pass it along to all the cities. Anyway, so what I'm going to be talking about is the geometric shape of water. And if you, geometry talks about shapes, and there are coordinate systems in geometry. And so basically what I'm going to present here today is we're going to assume that this green line here is flat and level, and that there are 4 lights. And if you coordinate these out on an XY system, let's see if I bring this closer a little bit here. If you plot these points out, what you're going to get is you're going to see that they are planar, they are horizontal, they are level. And what that is an indication that the surface of the water at the surface is expressing the shape that is revealed by what you plot out on the graph. And so I'll show an observation about that, as well as other features, not just at the surface of water, but even down below. When you get into the oceans, there are things called abyssal plains, and these are very broad regions of the Earth, and they are flats as well. So we have several areas of what is supposed to be a continuously curving cosmology Earth, and that's not observed. So there might be slopes here and there, ups and downs and divots and things, but there are large portions, large swaths, observations that have been made that are too far away for a globe with the claimed knowledge size of the equator of the circumference. And so that is going to be, in talking about the shape, you have the surface, the Earth, and I like to state it that I take the Earth itself, testing of the ground of the water, as a primary evidence, as opposed to alternative evidences like describing phenomena upon the Earth, like going down, or things going down or up, depending on their density, or something like the sky, which is also not on the ground, and you have to know the ground before the sky. So I don't concede away to secondary and primary when we're talking about the cosmology and the shape, because they're determined on the Earth. And so that's where I will be holding my position.
Perfect. We got Brenda up next. Brenda, you got 3 minutes when you want. You can begin.
Sure. I'm going to share my screen here.
No problem.
Where is it? Man,
there should be a button at the bottom that says share screen.
Yeah, I got that, but there we go. Everything is so slow for me today. I don't know why.
I've been having some issues today. I don't know either. What is going on here? I went the wrong one.
The system is really sluggish, and I don't know why that is. So what I'm going to be showing here is tonight is a spherical excess on a 2-dimensional surface. The interiors of a triangle add up to on a two-dimensional surface, flat surface, they add up to 180. On a sphere, they'll add up to be greater than 180. And that is what we observe. So since we observe that, and that is evidence that the Earth is flat. I mean, not flat. The Earth is a globe, because that could only happen on a sphere, right? So that's what I'll be talking about, I guess.
Okay, that's your intro?
I guess so,
All right,
yes.
sounds good. And so we've got to go on to the questions now. You can basically have a minute to ask Brenda anything you want. Go ahead, pitch.
Pertaining to the intro or of the questions that we talked about?
I guess we forgot to do that part. Actually, you were supposed to each give a response to the intro, and I didn't do that. Did you want to respond to Nathan first, Brenda, in a minute? Or you're on mute. You're on mute, Brenda.
I don't have any particular response. I am interested in hearing what evidence he can show that demonstrates the Earth is flat. So he's going to need to show me measurements.
Okay. And Nathan, do you have any response to her intro?
Yeah, I'm just curious if people have actually gone out and measured like a substantially larger than 180 degree measurement. Like I think one of the things about spherical excess is they talk about like you would, if you started at the North Pole, went down to the equator, walked like 180 degrees around the globe, and then walked straight north back to the equator, you would get spherical excess. And so has anything like that been accounted for? Is it something beyond what could be, measurement error, or have to do with, if there's any error, it could have to do with the GPS transform and trying to alter the coordinate system to take the plane surveying and the data of the features of the Earth, which I will show our planar, and then trying to wrap that around a ball could potentially be where some excess comes from. So I'd be curious about just kind of a little more about the spherical excess and the measurements that are made, the detail, the width of the triangle, or how big the triangles are. Are they walking to the equator, or is it a smaller local measurement?
Okay, hopefully we get into that. So you get to ask her a question first if you have a direct question for Brenda.
Yeah, so I will go with the first question that I had here, which is, are demonstrations and explanations the same thing?
No, they're not. In science, we have observations, hypotheses, experiments, and theories. Theories make predictions, and theories have explanatory power. Explanation means to give reasons for why we observe some phenomenon. A demonstration would simply be demonstrating an already known phenomenon. So if I wish to demonstrate that I can talk into this microphone on this one side of the room, and my voice will appear on the other side of the room, thus demonstrating radio waves, right? That would be something already known. So it's just a demonstration that that shows a particular phenomenon, whereas an explanation would be something from a theory. Theories would have explanatory power. That is, they explain, they give reasons, causal reasons for why we see the results in the experiments that we do.
Okay, thank you. You get to ask Nathan one now.
Oh, okay. On a scale of 1 to 100, 0 equaling total disbelief, 100 equaling total confidence in the flat Earth, what evidence would reduce your confidence in flat Earth from, say, 100% to 90%?
Okay, I'll answer that question, and then I also will throw in an answer as well to what would completely switch me back to where I used to be. And so the first thing that would take me down to probably about 90, I tried to figure pretty hard on this, because a lot of stuff about the horizon and curvature there's like literally like miraging and blurring in that area. And then the motion is admitted to not move, and that would, I think, be what takes me down to 90, would be if people more so like on the globe side to be able to admit it would show me like an openness to, because there are some people who will admit, yes, in relativity it ultimately technically does say that the non-moving earth and a moving sky are just as valid as a moving earth and a non-moving sky. They're mathematically equivalent. To admit that would show good, and there are a lot of good faith people out there on the globe side. I've talked to many. I'm in comments, I've talked with some people who are maybe a little more I wouldn't know how to describe it really, but that kind of openness I think just shows willingness to have a conversation, to be willing to learn from the other side, to 100% convince me because of the shenanigans that have happened around various topics and everything. Throwing a straight up one camera, one video camera, and no edits or anything, put it on a rocket, send it out far enough away from the earth where it straight up shows the globe. That's undeniable to me, and I think it would actually also be undeniable to quite a lot of other people who have been looking for a long time. So
okay, good. We got Pitch. You get question number 2.
Okay. If one claims a variable causes an effect, should they need to demonstrate that variable causing the effect?
Yeah, that would be the experiment. That would be done in the experiment. In the experiment, you change the independent variable, and the dependent variable should change as the independent variable changes. So you push on A and B moves, right? So that's how that would work. So yes, when you change a variable, the independent variable, the dependent variable is the one that depends causally on the independent variable. And so then that would demonstrate or show in the experiment that there's a correlation between those two. A causal correlation. Yes.
Okay. Pitch is good. Okay. And we got Brenda, your second question.
What direct experiment or experiments can you cite that support the positive claim that the earth is flat? Because all too often flat earthers seem to think that they don't have to present evidence, and I think you do.
Okay, Pitch.
Yeah. Can I share my screen, Jerry?
You may.
So yes, I'm with you about the showing your evidence to back it up. I think that's important to do. So this here is actually what I want to show. And so this is what someone observed. This is over a frozen lake, and the observer is at an observer height of 1 foot, and 5 miles away from them is the closest light. Sorry, they're sub 1 foot. They're about 7 inches, 8 inches. The first light is 5 miles away, 1 foot high. Second light, 6 miles away, 7 miles away, 8 miles away. They're all 1 foot off the ground, and they're all visible in a linear. And there's a video of this too, so you can see it. Groutaone, Groutaone is the guy who made this observation. But you can see that they all appear in a line, and so they are linear space.
Your time? Do you want an extra minute?
Yeah, I'll take my extra minute because I want to explain this one a little bit here. So thank you. So the lights are equally spaced, linear increments. It's 1 mile each, so 5 miles, 6 miles, 7 miles. And now if you take, and we're just going to go for simplicity's sake because it's just talking about the physical geometric shape of the earth. If the earth were a globe, there would be a non-linear increase in curve because the amount of curvature away from the observer at 5 miles is not directly a linear step to 6 miles that is directly linear to 7. Each curve is further contouring off of the last curve, giving it slightly more down. And so what I have never seen actually is a recreation on a known curved surface to scale, showing refraction or any claim being able to make it appear flat, all 4 lights in that scaled experiment with a claimed variable, controlling for it, and getting it to demonstrate this here.
Okay. That was your answer to Brenda?
That was his,
Yes.
what's his first claim?
No.
That was for showing the
No, you asked a question.
Oh, okay. Yes, yes,
showing,
right.
yes.
That was your response to my second question. Yes, you're
Okay,
right.
Yes.
so you got your third question. Go ahead, pitch.
Oh yes. Let's see. Have globe advocates and flat earth advocates in the past been wrong about claims like a globe saying that flat earth cannot explain an odd sun pattern lighting, but then showing it over like recreating horseshoe lighting over a dome or using a dome, or flat earthers saying that rail tracks couldn't curve to a globe despite them being in smaller segments that wouldn't have as a structural effect on the curve of the rails. So it's within confines. Like, have people on both sides been incorrect about claims here or there?
Absolutely. There are dumb globe earthers and flat earthers out there. People make mistakes all the time. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. And we should, if we apply the principle of charity, understand that people make mistakes and not engage in what is called the fallacy, that simply because somebody makes a fallacious argument, therefore the claim being made is necessarily false. It isn't necessarily true. People can make bad arguments for things and put forward false, arguments that can be shown to be false, and it could still be true. They're just made a mistake, or they're just wrong or ignorant, ignorant in the sense of not knowing. And I see that fairly often on Globers. There are Globers that I've seen debate with people who go in thinking that they know a great deal because it seems like something that is very elementary, that they and then they mess up because they don't know as much as they thought they did.
Okay, and Brenda, your final question.
This is to turn it around, and he could ask me if he really wanted to too. What is the best evidence for the globe? And what would you say your confidence level for it is? Because for me, everything is about levels of confidence. It's not certainty. Certainty isn't knowledge, isn't knowing. And in science, we have degrees of confidence. Not really. It's not black and white. It's shades of gray. So what is your best, what do you think is the Glober's best argument for the globe?
Can I answer as like what the globe has going for that side? Because I can't really think. I can kind of think of like a collective rather than like a specific example.
However you want to answer the question is fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah, see, just 1 second. Nathan and I and Michael, MC Toon, met over the weekend and had coffee and had a very cordial time. And so I know Nathan, and we've met, and this is, I like Nathan. He is a decent person and inquisitive and asking questions. And so however he wishes to answer this question is fine with me.
Wow. Well, thank you very much, Brenda. It was a really enjoyable time, and yes, very respectful and insightful and thought-provoking.
That's how it should be. That's how it should be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Even if people disagree, no matter what, if you can talk about it, it can, it's productive and peaceful.
Yeah, but you're still a big fat poopy head.
Oh gosh. So what I think that the globe, the best thing that the globe has in totality is they have had a long period of time with the teaching of the globe. A lot of very smart people who are thinking in these areas have explanations built towards these things. So like these more secondary matters of like explaining a downward force or a change in, for example, like if you fly something over a mountain, the amount of like gravity that is affected on it changes because it's close to the mountain. There are explanations for that on a planar cosmology as well. But there are a lot of very like specific or technical arguments that are like about things upon the earth that I do think that the globe has down. I think a lot of the maths are accurate, even if they do not reflect or have application to reality in a sense. They are still accurate maths. Mathematicians are accurate. Scientists are accurate. And a lot of things, it's just these concepts that don't mean much here on Earth because it's about the Earth. But like fine-tuned things that I do think that they have down.
Okay. Let's move on to claims, I believe. We're all done with the questions. So, Pitch, you are up first. You got 2 minutes. Make a claim, back it up with evidence, and then Brenda, you'll have a minute to respond, and we'll see if we need a open dialogue after that.
Yeah, okay. So the first one that I am going to show, which I kind of already did, but I can bring it back up here if I could share my screen. So this here is these are the 4 lights, and so what this would be is like on, it's a little bit dark, but like if you had a curve, this backlight back here would be, and they're all equally above the surface, this backlight would be farther down considerably than the 5-mile light. And so that they all appear linear, that 5 and 8, that 8 appears to have ramped up to 5, and 5 appeared to ramp up to meet our eye, and to have it all look horizontal and planar shows that water at rest, like a lake is, water and what liquid and gas are both fluids, and they are essentially opposite in characteristic. I think because gases are very high energy and escape from one another. They don't pull towards one another, and if they hit, they don't stick. They bounce off. Whereas whereas liquids are fluids that are very low energy seeking. So all water is trying to seek the lowest possible potential energy that it can. So water molecules are trying to get down and dig down and get low, but other ones are crowding out, and so they can only get so far. But all water is trying to get as low as it can, which is planar at the surface of something like a lake. This is too large for a meniscus or anything like that, and no tides. So planar open body surface of water, large body surface.
Okay, you got a minute to respond to that if you want.
Oh, I agree that there's no meniscus, no need to think about that, and no tides, no need to think about tides. However, was this during the winter?
Yes.
So in the winter, 1 foot above ice, it was?
Correct.
Yeah, you're going to have a very strong index of refraction, and I think that accounts for what we see here. The further lights are being refracted and curved along that channel of 1 foot above the earth, above the water, the ice, and I think that explains why you're seeing them all. It's pretty blurry, but they are generally in a line with each other, and the reason for that, even though there are distances, what was it, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, and 8 miles away, 5, 6, 7, and 8 miles away, what explains the fact that they're all at the same apparent height is because of refraction. We would expect to have a large amount of refraction over the cold surface of a frozen lake, and so it's not surprising to me. It seems to me predicted by the globe model as well.
Jaron, could I?
You can go back and forth.
Could I use like what's that?
So you can go back and forth now. We have about 3.5 minutes. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I guess what I'm curious about, Brenda, is the so that is the explanation is refraction. And so, okay, if you have this refraction amount, and assuming it's a refraction variable that we can actually measure in the real world, so using realistic refraction, can you take that variable of refraction and isolate it, and then demonstrate it on a curved surface, on a known curved surface, to recreate that observation to appear flat?
Well, what we want to do is explain it, and we know how refraction works. And refraction has been pretty well studied for hundreds of years, a couple hundred, I believe. And so knowing the temperature of the air, we can simply calculate what that would be, and then the results seem to me to be predicted by that calculation. So we have a theories of refraction. The theory makes predictions, and I think that those predictions would be borne out in the real world. So you can demonstrate refraction, using sugar water in an aquarium in lots of different ways. You can demonstrate it. And all of this, people research this and they know what the index of refraction is at a given temperature for the atmosphere.
So I get, so you can have the explanation, and then you also have the calculations that you can make that would show if we had this circumstance and we calculated these numbers, we would observe this result. So now, to me, bearing it out in the real world would be the reproducibility of an experiment, a demonstration. So you have the explanation, and then you have the calculation that would support that the explanation is plausible mathematically.
Yes.
Now, if I had like a piece of paper that said I have 7 pears and that equals 4 bananas, that's an equation, but it doesn't necessarily correlate. And that was very crude. But is there, like, if I have an explanation and a calculation, that's one thing. But now can it be applied to a demonstration, an experimentation, a setup that confirms an isolated variable?
Well, we would make an observation. We could go out and observe it. It would be nice if we had measurements of the temperatures 1 foot above the frozen lake. But that would be better. But it seems to me plausible. It seems to me that on a flat Earth, we shouldn't expect them to be all in a line. We should expect them to be, because the refraction is the same on a flat or a globe Earth, then we should find that that those distant lights would curve down, and they would appear to be higher. I think that's how it would work. Or probably they would appear higher. On a flat Earth with strong refraction, you would tend to see far distances the Earth would appear to be at far distances curving upward. I think that works. I could be wrong about that.
Okay, we got time on that one. Let's go on to Brenda's first claim.
Okay. So, half rock. So the Earth is the Earth curvature is plainly visible in observations. This is an observation.
Are you sharing?
I'm going to, yes.
Okay, just make sure.
Yes.
2 minutes when you, is it 2? Yeah, 2 minutes when you want to start.
I don't know why my system is so slow today. It acts, I don't know what it is. Maybe, come on, there we go.
There you go. Okay.
Yes. So this is a picture taken by the main surveyor, if I believe correctly. It is of Halfway Rock Lighthouse. He is at the elevation of 76.83 feet. He has leveled his survey equipment, and in the crosshairs, you can see the crosshair that is 76 feet high. That is a horizontal, perpendicular from his location. The Halfway Rock Lighthouse is at 80 feet, so there's a 4 foot approximately discrepancy. This is what you would expect on a globe Earth. You would expect distant objects to be lower than a horizontal line projected from where you are. They would lower over distances. And so this is evidence for curvature, because the center of the crosshairs is a horizontal line directly, a straight line from his position at 76.83 feet. If the Earth was flat, then that lighthouse could not be below those crosshairs, but it is. And so this is my first presentation of it's evidence for the Earth being a globe.
Would you want to leave that up there, Brenda, just so we can have it
Oops.
as a reference when we talk about it? If
Yes.
that's cool with you.
Sorry.
No, no worries.
Jake, you got a minute uninterrupted. Go ahead, pitch.
Okay. So yeah, what I guess what I am looking at might be what I would consider a good visual example of how atmospheric conditions can allow us to see more to how we know perspective to work without atmospheric conditions, in that things as they are further away, they will shrink. And so I don't know if he took into account apparent size of while doing any of these measurements, or how much the objects in the distance would shrink. I also noticed on this banner, like kind of the water, the kind of smokiness on the bottom half of the of this image it also looks very planar to me as well. So you do have the those two things, and then I do think that you get the shrinkage as you move away, and that is demonstrable on a planar surface as well, that something can shrink as it moves away.
Well, yes, it is. It does look very, very blurry. For one thing about perspective can't explain this, because under perspective, objects which are above your eye line will never go below it. And that is just a mathematical objective fact. Objects that are above your eye line, above your horizontal, can never appear below it due to perspective. They can only appear below it due to curvature. That is why I think this is good evidence, because it can't be explained by perspective.
Well, if you have something that shrinks, I mean, objects will, if something is really big in front of you, and it's clearly bigger than like your thumb, if you hold it out at a distance and you can't cover the whole object with your thumb, and then you move further back away from it, you can start to cover more and more of that object with your finger, and then eventually you can cover the whole thing, and you can be far away, like down a road. You can have light poles that are taller than you, and they're further, they're connected to each other. They're all the same. If you walked all the way to your horizon and got to that light pole and looked at it, you would see it's taller than you. But then if you look back at the one where you were at, you would see it's below your eye line, or near it. It's definitely getting closer to it. And so I think that with the shrinkage, the shrink takes the actual size of it and compresses it down to be less than or under your horizon line, and that's what is shown here.
Yes, you are correct that things get smaller as they get further away. Their angular size reduces, but the point is that they can never go below eye level, or the horizontal going in a straight line 90 degrees from your zenith. They can never go below that, because that's just how perspective works. This is a big problem that I see a lot of flat earthers struggle with to understand, which is that perspective can't make things disappear, and it can't make things go below eye level.
Okay, so I think I see what it is. So why it's appearing lower than the horizontal is because the water is below your horizontal. The water itself is underneath.
Yeah, because the Earth is curving away from you, from the observer here.
The observer is looking out at something that is beneath him the whole way. So if he was down at sea level looking at these buildings, which were going above his head, that would be one thing. But he's up looking down at the water, which is what these buildings are contained upon. So he's keeping them down, and they're starting down. They're not breaking across the plane.
Yeah, he's not looking down. He's looking straight out. The crosshairs are horizontal. They're 90. It's 90 degrees from vertical, so he's not looking down. He's looking
Yeah.
straight across. And if the Earth was flat, looking straight across, the lighthouse, which is 80 feet tall, which is higher than his location, should still be higher than his location, because perspective can never make anything go below your horizontal.
But isn't he looking at something that is like
Yeah.
the water is below him, and so he is up here, and then the water is down here going up towards, and that is what he doesn't have the water, like he's looking 90 degrees straight out from
Right.
his zenith, but he is looking out, and he's not, there is still water below him. He's not looking out from 0 degrees observer from the height. He's that drop, there's a drop due to the tube of the lens is looking straight, and so it's gauging its level from above, when really level is starting at the water surface below the tube.
Right. So the theodolite is pointing straight out 90 degrees from his vertical. It's not angled. It's not angled down or up. It's pointing straight out. And according to optics, you could never have something taller than you be below you when you're looking straight at it.
So
Okay.
I think
Let's go to the next one. We've
Okay.
spent some time on that one. So we've got that was Brenda's claim and your response. Let's go to your pitch number 2.
Okay. So my next one is the abyssal plains and acoustic shadows. So I'm going to share my screen again.
Okay.
And then so yeah, basically what you have here is this is talking about the abyssal plains, and this is just wiki, so from the sources, but abyssal plains, they're underwater plains found at various depths underneath the surface of the water. The abyssal plains cover more than 50% of the Earth's surface. They are among the flattest, smoothest, and least explored regions on the Earth. Abyssal plains are key in geological elements of ocean basins. So this is the oceans, the bottoms of these basins. Not only do we have the geometric plotting out of the observation of the observed lights on the surface of water being planar, but even underneath, even though the surface of water doesn't contour to the basin of the water, the basin appears to have flat features as well. And then what you get into is you have whales, and they're able to make make noises. And I had a site up here, you can like listen to them and everything, but these whales are able to send signals to these whales can send signals really, really far, like really long ranges, like thousands of miles. And they don't produce what is called an acoustic shadow. So it's kind of like echolocation. If you send out a wave, a sound wave, and you bounce it off of something, and then it comes back to you, you can hear it, it returns. And some animals can detect those waves and get a gauge of the distance. So the curvature of the Earth would produce a shadow that would block the distance of travel that the whales could have. And the whales don't have that. They're able to just send it out across an open space of water. And so they go really far. And so I think this is one example of planarity in the Earth over vast distances.
Okay. Brenda, go.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen.
Sure.
Right. So abyssal plains, despite their name, the plains are not uniformly flat. They're interrupted by features like hills, valleys, and seamounts, underwater mountains that are also hotspots for biodiversity. So they're not uniformly flat, but moreover, I don't think that you have to measure to see whether or not they're actually flat, because other plains, like say the Bonneville Flats, and other salt flats that are around the world, have been measured to be curved, right? So they appear flat. And I don't think that the abyssal plains are said to be as flat as, say, for instance, the Bonneville salt flats. But even those are known to curve. They've been measured to curve. And so I don't think that is a, I don't think that, I haven't seen any measurements indicating that the abyssal plains are in fact flat. It would be kind of hard to do, I suppose. The other thing is, as far as shadows go, sound waves, like radio waves, can bounce around and bounce off of different layers in the ocean, just like radio waves bounce off of different layers in the atmosphere, and they can bounce around and they can follow the curvature of the Earth. This is taken advantage of deliberately by, as different frequencies can bounce off of different layers of the atmosphere, and there are absolutely different layers of cold and warmer water in the oceans. So the whale songs could easily bounce around and make their way around the curvature of the Earth. So I don't see that as being very convincing evidence for the Earth being flat.
Okay. Yeah. So I would say, sorry, Jeremy, were you about to say something?
Nope. You guys got a minute and a half.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I would say, and if I could pull my screen share back up here. So like, yeah, if you, and maybe hopefully this could be like a good point to note is, so I guess I think it should be on your screen that you'll see, like right here on my screen where my pointer is, this here, you can see it portrayed as a flat surface. And then right next to it here, you should see like a flat surface as well being portrayed. Even down here, there's a little bit, but then here it looks a little jaggedy, maybe with some of those features that Brenda was talking about. And so, yes, like on the Earth, there are features as well, like on land up here, so too down in the bottom of the ocean. But I think, and hopefully this is what people who are into this debate can respect from both sides, is that there can be like a diagram, how things are portrayed, seeing it portrayed as completely flat here, but then over here you have your peaks and valleys. It can do a lot for the interpretation. And that's why I think like being like Brenda and I were able to talk when we were together, and there was respect. And I think that's,
Absolutely.
we can get these discussions going places and really critically covering these things with an open discussion, because there can be, even on this one page, there's like multiple different interpretations you could make based on any one image. But I do think that there are features like that that can go up and down, but there are also flat swaths as well.
Sure, I don't want to make the mistake that Paul Bevan does in thinking that because something has hills and valleys, it's not necessarily flat. Something that a plane that has hills and valleys could be geographically flat over large distances, but I don't see the measurements for that. It's just in a Google search, they're using the word flat, and people, when they write for popular articles, are very loose with their terms, and by flat they just mean relatively featureless, with some hills and valleys here and there, and maybe some seamounts, maybe some underwater mountains. But we don't think that means it isn't. I'm not going to say that because there are hills and valleys it can't be flat. It could be flat even with hills and valleys, but I don't see the measurements for that.
Yeah, and that's something that I'll look up and try to find some measurements for the measuring the seabed and seeing how they topographically.
I'm glad you understand. I kind of went a long way to explain that, and I'm glad you understand.
No, it's important to be able to measure and measure and demonstrate the claims. I agree.
Okay, Brenda, you're up. Second claim.
Okay. Comparison of globe and flat Earth. Where does that go here? Comparison. And Zoom. I'm going to share.
Okay.
And where does, there we go. My mouse is floating around, and I don't, ever since the last update for Windows, right? So here's a comparison on flat Earth and globe Earth models, right? So flat Earth and globe Earth are two competing models for the shape of the Earth, and they should make different predictions about what it should look like. For instance, here, this here, it would be a prediction made by the flat Earth model, and this is the prediction made by the globe Earth model, and this is the reality that we see, and the reality that we see corresponds to the predictions made by the model. This scene shows the 38-kilometer long causeway bridge at Lake Pontchartrain. The image was taken from the 15th floor of the Marriott Hotel, and it appears to show that the globe model conforms with or corresponds to the observations that we see in reality. Here, for instance, are the Soundly's observations, and he had a GPS unit attached to his car, and he made this trip making measurements of the Earth, of the bridge, and you can see that it follows the bridge extremely well, and it curves in the distance. That is the curvature of the Earth that we are seeing here, and this is it modeled in a 3D program and showing the close relationship between the model and reality. And that's all that science does, is make a correspondence between reality and our models of reality. And this clearly shows this is
Okay, time.
Okay, this is the curvature, just plainly visible. It's there. I'm done.
Okay, you get your 1 minute response now.
Okay, so to that, I would say that if that is the curvature of the Earth, that is some very serious bend. Like I'm like an off-speed kind of junk ball pitcher. Like I throw with movement, and that thing, that's really a lot of bend. Like the Earth would have to, I think, be much smaller, because that looks like a degree or two of curve that it's going over, but it would have to be like a third or like a sixth, excuse me, 2/3 of a degree of the globe that it would go over. That looks, I mean, awfully steep. But then if I could, can I share my screen for a sec here?
You may.
Yeah, I can stop my share.
If I can throw this up here. So, oopsies. This. Okay, so this here, these are those towers that Brenda was showing. These are the utility towers, and this is what what Brenda was showing going over the curve, showing these disappearing behind curve. But if you look at this picture here with these environmental conditions, you actually can see it all the way here, and this is a little bit blurry as well, but it's a zoom in of this. You can see the horizon on the other side. So this would be a showing of it appearing planar, as opposed to appearing like it's going over, again, what I think would make the Earth considerably smaller if that was the legitimate geometric curve that the towers were following. And that observation that I showed with it going all the way to the horizon is also from the bridge going over the water, so it's much lower to the water level. as well. But that's I would say it's the same towers being observed in a different format. Like you see them as curved, and I showed them as planar.
Okay, guys, you got about 2.5 to go back and forth. If you want, or we can move on.
Oh, okay. So the reason that it looks like such a severe curve is because it's greatly foreshortened. So like if you have a pool cue and you want to know if that pool cue is bent or if it's straight, you don't just look at it from the side. You peer down it from one end to the other in order to get a lot of foreshortening involved, so that you can see if the pool stick curves or not, because you don't want it to curve, because then your game will be off. Right? That's the same thing that's going on here. Soundly is greatly foreshortening the photograph, and that is why it appears to be a sharper curve than you might otherwise think. And sorry to say, but you know, the photographs that you showed suck. They're just not, very blurry, and they don't really, it's very hard to see very much with them. And yes, if you look at those power lines from a distance off to the side instead of straight down them, they will appear straight. But that's the whole point of looking at them dead on, or nearly so, is because then you can see the curvature, just like you can see the curvature in a pool stick. And I'm done.
So so if that is with foreshortening and looking at it straight on, there are people who have taken like panoramic shots where they pan, or I think they're called panoramic shots. They take a side view of the bridge, and people have shown that the bridge is essentially flat the whole way across the picture, that there's no you don't get the roundedness that is being shown there. That would go and that's from a side view that would show that tangent curve drop off.
I'm sure they have, because just like with the pool cue, you're not going to see the bend if you look at it from the side.
So why do we see curve in one direction but not in the, like, why in the X plane but not in the Z plane? Or why in the Z plane, not the X plane, do we see curve?
Because the bridge is just moving away from us in the is that the X or the Z direction?
X would be the panoramic across.
Okay. And Z would be the depth.
And then yeah, Z going away from you.
Yeah, it's because it's not moving. It's not going very far left or right. It's going away from us in the Z direction. That's why.
Okay, time on that one.
Okay, because it just seems like if you're looking at the bridge across, it's like the full length. And yeah, it doesn't, like, if it was curving a little bit from front on, then when you turned it to the side, wouldn't you see that curve as well still be there? Would be my question, but okay.
Okay, your third one, pitch.
Oh, yes, okay. So my third, okay, maps. So maps being flat. Let's see, share screen. So what I have here is the United Nations, which is an organization, a collection of many different countries and everything. And what they have on their map is a representation of what would be considered a flat Earth model. And this can get jumped on by quite a few flat earthers, but they do have this flat Earth in their logo. And then it's not just them, it's other organizations as well. The International Civil Aviation Organization, people talk about flight routes a lot. And these people actually, I think this is the UN wheel for like 2030 and everything. So they're right in line with the United Nations, and that would make sense because they have the same logo, the same flat Earth map for the people who cover our civil airlines and everything. They use a flat Earth map. Even too, like if you were just going to pull a big fold out map of across the country that your, grandparents keep in the car or something when they go around the states, you have these maps as well, which are flat. And if you look in on GPS when it's close and local and you're actually using it, you are using a flat map as well. So these maps are actually, these are flat maps. They have keys, they have scales. And so people use GPS, and when it's local, it is also flat. And so I think that those are examples of using flat Earth map. As far as making topography of an exactly accurate entire world encompassing flat Earth map, it probably could be done. I think it could. There's no $60 million a day going towards, or double it. Jaron, that's hilarious. Double it, straight up, emphatic. But we don't have, there's that flat Earth doesn't have that. But it probably could be done, but there are like coastline paradoxes. There's erosion that can happen to land and everything. And so there are some complications with making maps, but the ones that we use are flat.
Okay, Time, you have a response to that, Brenda?
Yeah. The azimuthal equidistant projection. It's a projection from a sphere. It was made from a sphere, and what you're the mistake that you're doing is what is called reification. Many flat earthers, certain flat earthers, don't know what the word reification means. This is a good example of it. Simply because the map is flat doesn't mean that the Earth is flat, right? So you're confusing the map with the territory, literally. You can project. The reason that we have flat maps is because they fold up nicely and fit in your glove compartment, right? That's why we have flat maps on paper.
Yeah. Well, this is still Brenda. My bad.
Now you can go back and forth for 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I think that they use flat maps because I think that they're accurate, and we can use them, like in reality they're relatable to us and to our experience. And I think too, like globes are, like if you go to a store, a department store, and pick a globe up on the shelf, it will say not for educational use, but like a globe could fit. I keep sporting equipment in my trunk, and it's can put a globe in there too. But I guess that'd be not usable for travel on the States because it's not to scale. But
it would be hard to find. It would be hard to find your local streets on a globe that was 4 inches in diameter.
Yeah, true. Or you could get a bigger globe, but yeah, it's still, it wouldn't be for travel. But I do think too, and I don't have the citation or the source in front of me, so I guess I'll put it out there. But I think I do remember seeing something about the guy who made the azimuthal equidistant map. He actually was an advocate that the Earth was planar, but to get patents or something, he had to go through write it as a globe projection and kind of write it through the narrative that would allow for him to get published.
Well, that was how it was created. It's in his patent. In his patent application, it's a projection from the globe. Well, I don't know how else he got the data for it.
Well, it says it's accurate as is, and like it's not a globe itself. So
it's not accurate. It's not accurate as to the width of Australia, the distance from Sydney to Perth. That's not accurate.
It might not be, but some of the distances longitudinally and latitudinally, if you look up like features of Australia and what latitude and longitude, like the West Coast, there's like a hook on the West Coast. If you look at, it's like 35 or something, I'll just say 35 south, 35 west or something. If you look at there on the AE map and on the globe, they're actually a match for their positioning.
Okay. Yeah. The longitudes are accurate. Yes. That's what it was mainly made for. I think was for calculating longitudes, right? If I'm not incorrect here.
Yeah, longitude and time.
Yeah, not distances.
Okay, Brenda, your third claim.
Oh, okay. Determining the shape of the Earth. Let me see here.
2 minutes.
My
when you're
sluggish
ready.
computer. I'm going to share screen.
Okay.
And where are we here? Determining the shape of the Earth. And there we go.
Okay.
Determining the shape, we use reciprocal zenith angle measurements. You set up 2 stations that, because we assume that light travels in straight lines, we can correct for refraction if we wish. But we have what the theodolite sees is not the geometry of the Earth, but an up or down refracted image, and we can measure refraction. So here we have the 2 different models, the flat Earth and the globe Earth model. On the globe Earth, zenith angles should be non-parallel, and so then the zenith angle itself should be greater than 90 degrees. And on the flat Earth model, the zenith should be parallel, and all horizontals drawn from those zenith angles should, the interior angle should be 90 degrees. And what we find here, this is zeta. These are real world observations where the observations are that the interior angles are greater than 90 degrees. That can't happen on a flat Earth. And all of these are different. So for the flat Earth model, we get, it talks about temperature. I don't know if I want to go all the way into that, but the temperature required to bend it as much as it should is physically impossible, because the temperature would reach absolute zero below 2 kilometers in altitude. On the globe model, the calculated temperature gradients match the predictions of accepted model for atmospheric refraction. So again, we have a mismatch where the flat Earth makes a prediction that we do not observe, right?
Okay, time. You got a minute to respond.
Okay. Do you want me to stop sharing?
Unless you want to keep going, you can take another
could you
minute.
scroll up? Brenda, could you scroll up a little bit? Go down a little bit, a little further, a little more, right there. So I do think with refraction that you can make these calculations and everything. And I think why I wanted this diagram brought up was because this I think even can go back to that showing of the lighthouse. If you were to take the left side diagram and you were to take those edges, which are parallel on the right side, if you made those parallel and the orange lines that are coming out rotated with it, they would start to point down as you rotated them towards parallel. And that would be your drop away. So that's the calculation that they are that they're taking is it's measuring from an above position, which doesn't allow, which creates that excess beneath you. It's beneath you because you're up elevated, not because it's spherical excess. It's you're elevated above an area, and now your measurement has to be able to cover that area beneath you. You're straight out 90, so all the area below you is going to be that excess that needs to be covered by your optics, and that's where the excess is coming from.
Yeah, I'm not sure I really understand what you're trying to say here. This is zeta 1, right? I can't draw. So these are the zenith angles, right? And they can't be they can't be greater. They're going from one point to another. They on a globe Earth, we would expect them to be greater than 90 degrees, which is what we see. I don't know what else to say to that.
We are measuring the stars above to be 180 degrees away from each other, more than 180 degrees.
Oh no, these lines here these are zeniths. These are two different total stations set up and pointing at each other. So you point one station at the other station, and they both point at each other, and then
They're pointing at each other. Okay.
right, and then you measure the interior angles, right, from the zenith of each one of A and B.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And that interior angle, if the Earth is flat, must be 90 degrees, but what we see is something that is greater than 90 degrees, which is down here, is like this one is 91 degrees, 8 minutes and 9 seconds. And for the flat Earth model, which is right here, those numbers have to go into a negative in order for to see what we're seeing. The temperature gradient would have to be much different than what it is.
Okay, so I was thinking of something else in my answer, but
Okay.
that diagram was helpful for that. That's
Sure.
and this, so okay, so yeah, this particular I'm not too familiar with this.
Walter Bislin's is a good site to go to.
This is if you could send me this. I
Yeah.
don't think I'd be able to, because I was understanding it differently in my first response.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't think I would be able to sufficiently or adequately defend
Okay.
myself against this point.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'll look into this though, because this would be
yeah, that's great. I
I
understand. I understand you totally. Yeah, all is cool. It's all cool.
It's all good.
So,
Okay.
All right, you got your
Yeah.
fourth claim. Go ahead.
or Nathan.
No.
And then I think I had only sent Brenda 3 claims. So
You
I
can
guess
make
if you
something
want to go to your 4th, and then maybe.
You can make something up like Santa Claus said that the Earth is flat.
Oh, okay. So yeah, okay. So so kind of to tie in with the maps, is you have governmental agencies as well that also put in their documentation. I think it was Dean Odell. He covered several military documents that had a flat, non-rotating Earth, and he provided the links to all of them in that video. And if you go to like a lot of the Army ones or anything, the military ones, they're all now, most all of them are like 404 error not found. So they kind of took away some of those flat Earth documents, which is kind of a theme, because flat earthers such actually as Jaron have been able to really change the internet landscape and get things removed and altered and hidden and taken away and changed around. And so I would think that with there are documents, like there is one in particular with NASA. I believe it's damaged asymmetric aircraft, and they talk about planes that are damaged and they need to be able to land, and they use a flat non-rotating Earth for their assumption. And I think why that is important is because if you are in a plane that you need to land and someone could get hurt if you don't land properly, if you're trying to land a damaged plane, you need to know what the contour of the ground is, what the layout is, how fast the ground is moving, if it is at all, how fast you're moving, when. There's a bunch of variables that you have to factor in. But if you're landing on something that's moving or curving, moving despite moving east to west, if you're trying to land going north to south, that might be a lot of momentum change on your wheels. And so there are things like that I think would indicate that the airplanes, I know that's just like our English language, but they're airplanes because they do fly over a plane.
Time. You guys can discuss if you want.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You got a minute. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
You got a minute before you.
Yeah, airplanes are not called planes because they fly over planes or a plane. I don't think that's true, but it doesn't matter because all objects on the surface of the Earth are moving with the Earth at the same rotational speed, and when an airplane takes off, it due to the law of conservation of momentum, it retains that speed, and so there's really no problem. It doesn't have to land. You can consider it as if it was stationary. You can consider the Earth, and you can consider the Earth as if it was flat if you want. You just understand that that is an assumption that you're making for the present time, simply to make make your calculations simpler without having to go into relativity and everything, which is very complicated and very involved, very involved equations. So you just, one of the first lessons I remember, like an 8th grade geometry teacher teaching us was
Time, unless you want your minute.
make it simple. Start with the simplest possible case and then solve from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brenda, you got
Like
your
that.
fourth one.
Huh?
Your last claim.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm going to share the screen again.
Okay.
And we have a cute little picture this time. Polaris
Don't put pictures
cannot
of me
be
on there.
Polaris cannot be seen in the southern hemisphere, and the southern hemisphere cannot see certain constellations in the northern hemisphere. This is what we would expect on a globe. On a flat Earth, every human being at every point on the face of the Earth should all see the same sky, but we don't see the same skies. We see different skies. And in fact, I believe Aristotle took the fact that there were constellations that could not be seen from Greece as evidence for the Earth being spherical, or at least curved. And this is more evidence. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's simply, there's a cumulative amount of evidence that I'm making a cumulative case for the Earth being a globe. And the fact that it's simply a fact that people in the southern hemisphere cannot see certain constellations in the north, and the north. I've never seen the Southern Cross in my entire life because I live in Minnesota, and unless I go into the southern hemisphere, I never will. But if the Earth is flat, I should be able to see it, and that again is evidence against the flat Earth and for a globe Earth. I'm done.
Thank you. Lumin, you got a minute to respond?
Yeah, so to my response to this would be that if you are if all three of us were in the same room together and we were all sitting down at a table and we all looked up, we would all have a different central zenith piece of ceiling popcorn above our head. That would be our position in the sky related to the ground. And my epicenter of my sky is built around that star, that is, or that piece of popcorn that is above my head, or that star, and it's the same. So my epicenter is different from your epicenter, Brenda, which would be different from Jaren's epicenter. And so we would all be seeing different sky and different ground. And so just like if you're in your house, the piece of ground that you're walking on has a different piece of ceiling above it. If you're in the kitchen, you're going to have your kitchen ceiling above your head, aka northern hemisphere, whereas if you're in your living room, you're going to have your living room ceiling above your head, aka southern sky. So depending on where you are on the ground, that determines your position on the sky. And because ground and sky try to compete with one another for your vision towards the horizon, there's a hard vanishing point that cuts off anything beyond that point, ground or sky. So it prevents you from seeing those stars. If you want to see them, you have to move to another spot on the ground, because if you go up, the stars disappear, except for what some astronauts have to say.
We're all in one room, and if we are all in one room, barring any obstructions like trees and mountains, we should all see the same ceiling. If there's a ceiling above us, everybody in the room should be able to see every bit of that ceiling, because there's simply no obstructions to anybody. There isn't a kitchen to this world. We're all in one room. We're not in different rooms. And it doesn't matter what's directly above me. I'm saying that every point on that ceiling is visible by everybody in the room. And
yes.
Yeah.
And so the us being in the room, all to clarify, was to give the imagery so someone can try to perceive everybody having their own unique center of the sky, and then all the stars are fixed relative to one another. So your whole sky is going to be determined by that piece of popcorn, or that whatever's right above your head.
No,
And
it's
then
not. It's not.
if you're directly,
the point of the ceiling that's directly above my head isn't going to mean that I can't see the far right hand corner or the far left hand corner.
no. And so here's, if you were now to take this to the living room and the kitchen example,
There's only one room. There's only one room.
But here's how they tie together, is because if you were in the living room and you're looking towards the kitchen and looking up at the ceiling, but there's a wall in the way, the living room wall is in the way,
There's no wall.
that would be akin to the hard vanishing point that is set by the limits of your vision, the sky and the ground converging and merging at the horizon, cutting off the stuff that is beyond that. If you go higher up in elevation, you can push those two a little further back.
Yeah, there's no walls. There's no walls. There's no
Well,
kitchen.
the wall would be a metaphor for the vanishing point. It's cutting off your view beyond that wall. It's effectively like a wall. The vanishing point is.
The vanishing point is on the ground.
Well, walls are built off the ground. It's the same cutoff of vision, preventing the more distant sky. It's still there, but it's on the other side of the wall. Or in the world's case, you would have to move your position on the ground to be able to see new sky.
Yeah, I agree.
The epicenter, the star above you would be changing as you move on the ground. So you're changing your available sky to that, depending on your position.
No, I agree with you that if I want to see the ceiling of the kitchen and I'm in the dining room, I'd have to move into the kitchen. But
to make it your zenith, right?
The zenith doesn't have anything to do with it. It's the fact
that I'm just using it as a reference.
I can stand anywhere in the dining room and I see every bit of the ceiling of the dining room, and there's no kitchen. There's no walls.
Yes, because that would be so. Like if I was in my kitchen and right next to me was the dining room, and I was looking towards my dining room, that would, and I'm here in Minnesota, say that would be like me looking over to China, and that's why I can't see China, is because there's a vanishing point. The sky, there's magnification going on, there's bending of light, there's refraction, there's debris in the way. There are things that ultimately, like if you went from me here in Minnesota to China, and you took all of the dust and the debris in the air between me and there, I think, and what is a dining room wall, 6 inches wide or something, 6 inches thick? I bet you could get at least 7 inches of dust between me and China from if I tried to look at it. So that would cut off the vision as well.
The vanishing points are on the ground. I'm talking about the ceiling. The ceiling is above us, and according to some flat earthers, the dome is approximately, I don't know, 3,000 miles above us. What it would have to be. That's how high the sun is. 3,000 miles or something like that.
Yeah, and I don't claim any distance. I don't know at all how high up the sky is, how far into the firmament or anything.
We can calculate it.
Sky are.
We can calculate how high it must be.
If you weren't looking through a medium and there weren't other variables as far as its true position involved, I think you could. But I think because its true position could be different and there could be refraction and distortion, that those things inhibit the ability to accurately assess the point that you're trying to measure.
No, you're correct. You're correct that there's definitely refraction and distortion, but that's closer to the horizon. But when we measure the sun, and it's like at 45 degrees, there's relatively little refraction, relatively little dust, or any kinds of obstacles. So if trigonometry is true, and we certainly think it is, then the sun must, Mike MC Toon figured out how high it is, given we are at 45 degrees latitude, and we know the distance to the equator, right? And if the Earth is flat, then we know that that's flat. That's a right angle to the sun. Then we can just calculate how high that it must be, and it must be if trigonometry is true. And you're going to have a hard time proving that trig is false. It must be 3,000 miles above us.
Yeah, so I agree that most trig is accurate. I mean, I guess I don't know most trig, but I agree with trig. But the thing is like, and even in Mike's example, um what the brother was showing was that you have these points, your position here, and then the horizon is
Yeah.
here, and then you have the sun above the horizon.
Yeah, we
Uh,
talked just to let the audience know, we actually talked about this. We had a sheet of paper and all three of us talked about this at the coffee shop.
Yes, and what Mike was doing there was he had the sun in the same environment, in the same ecosystem, as the same medium as the observer on the earth, on the ground, like for example here in Minnesota or at the equator. It was in the same medium. But my personal view of the biblical planar cosmology is that there is a glass, a firmament above us, or some sort of molten glass above us. And so
According to you, according to you, is it inside or outside of the firmament?
So if my hands are the firmament, underneath is where we are, and
Yeah.
then my fingers have depth. So if the sun is in my fingers, like where like in here somewhere in the glass,
So it's
or if it is,
embedded in the firmament?
yes, if it's embedded in, or if it is above and then coming down through the whole medium of the firmament, I'm not sure, but it is at least in one different medium than,
It always stays either, it always stays above the firmament, or
yeah, either embedded within. It doesn't come down into the clouds, for example, or anything like that.
the clouds are only a few thousand feet above us, and according to Mike, the sun should be what, 3,000 miles above us. So
Yeah, if
quite
it
a
were
ways-
in the
quite a ways
clouds or
away.
something, it could be calculated like that. I really do believe that you could trig it if it was within the same area that we are, but I do think it is in an unreachable area behind an impassable.
Do you have any evidence for this firmament, like a chunk of it?
No, because if it's
That would be nice to
unbreakable,
have.
I can't break a chunk off.
That'd be nice to have, like a photograph.
Well, I can tell you that NASA would love to go back to the moon, or Don Pettit would, but it's a painful process to
Well,
build the technology back, and they
we can't go
get
to the
past
moon.
it.
No, but I mean,
I know we can't go to the moon.
of the firmament, you could go to where it meets the ground, couldn't you?
Maybe
Couldn't that be in
if it
Antarctica somewhere?
could be. It's hard to get to Antarctica and explore it freely and wherever you want to go and stuff. So
You're totally free to go there. You know that.
well, you're free to like go to a certain location and have certain rules and restrictions and everything. And tour,
Yeah,
you
you
can
have
tour
to-
there to specific locations.
Yeah, part of the rules are like the same rules that you would have if you went to a certain national parks. You can't leave anything behind you, and you have to be very careful with. You wouldn't have to worry about fires, but you can't leave anything behind you because that would pollute the national park. And it's the same with Antarctica. You can't be you have to carry your poop with you.
Yeah, right.
All right,
You got to
right.
carry everything.
Because you can't pollute the environment and affect it and stuff. But there's no obstacle to anybody just trekking across it, other than you would die rather quickly because it gets to 100 below zero Fahrenheit.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
go on to your conclusions. We're starting with you, Pitch. You got 2 minutes to do a conclusion. And you guys both still have your 2-minute warning if you wanted to use it, but you don't have to. And
I don't feel a need to.
Okay, so we're gonna go 2 minutes when you're ready.
Yeah, okay. So I do feel that there is geographic or geometric observations that we can make that show that the Earth is planar. If it is a globe, then it would have to, I think, be a globe that is much bigger than what we are told, what we are taught. 24,901, I think it would have to be 10 times bigger at least, or something like that, to match the observations with how far we can see. And if you are going to claim that you can calculate your explanation, if you can calculate your refraction and make it appear mathematically to work, I support the math 100%. What I am asking for and looking for is a demonstration isolating the variable and showing it recreated on a known curved surface. For example, bottom-up disappearance at its surface sounds like a slam dunk for the globe, that it's stuff going over the curve. It's what we're taught. However, it has been shown isolating a realistic variable that we observe in the real world of temperature variation. You can show using natural temperatures that you can get bottom-up disappearance on a known flat surface. So that is an explanation of why we get the observation, and then a demonstration showing and matching what we see. So the biblical Earth side is able to show this, is able to have these demonstrations. There are some technicalities and things that are, a little bit tough, but a lot of the minds and everything who mean well are going to the globe side and are taught through a system that brings them onto that side naturally. And so I guess that would be, I think that there are observations, there are demonstrations, explanations to these things that are just as valid, if not more, and more explanatory and observationally confirmed empirically than a globe.
Okay, thank you. Let's go with Brenda. And just a reminder, if you want to ask any of these people questions, you can send a super chat right now or a Rockfin tip, and we will get to those right after Brenda's 2-minute conclusion.
Sure. I think that I demonstrated my case. I gave evidence. I gave numbers and measurements, calculations that increase the probability that the Earth is a globe rather than, and that falsify a flat Earth. Science cannot prove things, but it can show that something is false. We can know that the Earth is not flat, but we can't have absolute certainty that the Earth is a globe. We can just have a high degree, and I would think very high degree of confidence that the Earth is a globe. And technically, it's not a sphere. It's an oblate spheroid, and it's lumpy in some places. But I gave a cumulative case where I presented numbers, calculations, measurements of spherical excess and of things curving away from the observer and disappearing over the horizon. And I think that the preponderance of evidence is such that people should believe that the Earth is a globe and should not believe that it is flat, because the evidence says so. Many flat earthers talk about waking up to the flat Earth. You don't have to wake up to science. Science has evidence and facts. There's no waking up that you have to do. You simply have to acknowledge the facts and the measurements for what they are. So you don't need to have a spiritual coming to Jesus moment where you wake up to the flat Earth. That is how religion works. That's not how science works. Science deals in facts, explanations, observable, repeatable, falsifiable observations. And I think that I made a good case for the Earth being a sphere. And I want to thank Nathan and Jaron. Nathan is a nice guy, and people should be nice to him, even if he did fail miserably. Failed miserably. Yes. Yes.
Oh no.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you to both of you as well, Jaron and Brenda, both of you for this.
Well, then I also wanted to mention that so people know, it was supposed to be FTFE against George Stirrup Michael or something. I forgot his exact name, but they bailed last second because they needed more time or something. So I called these guys basically yesterday morning and said, could they move up? And they agreed. So thank you guys for doing that for us.
Howard Stirrup, is it?
Yeah, that's who it is.
Yeah, and I think Fight the Flat Earth is having medical issues.
Oh, is that what it is? I'm not sure what it was exactly.
Maybe. I don't know.
Recover quick, Craig.
Yes.
You got it.
So we have, I usually like to, and then while people can get their last super chats in or whatever, I usually want to ask each of you a question. So let me just bring this up real quick. And then Brenda, this is for Brenda's question. Brenda, if this is where is my, there we go. So I'm going to put this one up. So this is just a warehouse. I don't know where, but fairly large, but not too large, right? I mean, it's a couple hundred yards at the most, maybe 200 yards down there. So if we picture this building being 5 miles long, which only 5 miles, we're not talking about 12,000 miles, we're not talking about 500 miles. At 5 miles away, you would still be able to see the lights on the ceiling far away, 5 miles away from you. In a flat room, in a flat world, would you be able to see the lights 5 miles away?
Yeah, I think you would. And if not, you could get a telescope or binoculars out and see them. And they would all be above your eye level.
Okay. Just want to get that answer. And for pitch, I had for you, where is that? You said that you thought, I guess I was confused what you were saying in the lighthouse picture. Can you remind me what was your explanation for that? Why it was below the
Yeah.
horizontal?
Okay. So you are you're looking straight out at 76 feet elevation.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking straight out in a line, and that's where your level is set to. So from the zenith, you are 90 degrees straight out. And then because you are elevated from the ground, there is a gap that is between the observer height and the bottom, the things that are below your horizon line. And so the things that are beneath you have to go upwards towards, they're already below your horizon line, and then they have to go up towards that, because everything below, wherever you're looking, call it ground and sky for below and beneath, those two have to, above and below, have to converge at your horizon every time, no matter where you're looking, no matter how high up, wherever your horizon line is, beneath your eye and above your eye are converging. And so you have this thing looking straight out at 90, and you have this gap below you. That gap is what can be converted. It's like when you had those tilts in the diagram Brenda showed, if you, and those lines are pointing out like this, upward, if you took those lines and just shifted the whole thing and tilted it, they would start to point further down. That's your 90. If you're back like this and your 90 is straight out, you tilt forward, you're pointing downward now. So that's the excess. And you also, because you're up above and these things are below you on the ground going up towards and staying under your horizon line, there's also shrinkage due to perspective, a shrinking of the objects as well, involving the apparent size of the object at a distance. Not like that lighthouse would get bigger to you the closer you go to it, the further away, consequently the smaller it gets, and so it shrinks. So you have the apparent size plus everything beneath going up. It's already, the lighthouse is starting out below you, going up. So it makes sense that it would be beneath. If you were at the water level looking out at it, it would be above and stay up, because there's no gap between the observer height and below. Your observer height is the 90. Whereas if you're elevated, your observer height is the 90, but then there's that gap beneath you too, that you could angle down towards and get 91, 92, 93 going down as you angle further.
Okay, we got some super chats. Let's start there. We've got Matthew DeGorgio says, we're creating a great world. Thank you very much for that. We've got LJ who says, Brenda, do you believe rain falls upwards in Australia? Thank you for the $2.
No, rain falls down in Australia, just towards the center of the earth.
Okay. Rich Wild Music says, Candace Owens just publicly admitted she doesn't believe the moon landings. More and more public figures are laying down the truth. Thank you very much for that, Rich Wild Music. We got Run Boston Bear. Says, the globe earth is a spell akin to a magic trick. Anyone promoting the globe can't see the trick and is pushing an invention. Please wake up to truth. Guess that's to you, Brenda. And we've got Earth First, Space Later says, what people don't understand is that the heliocentricity is atheistic in nature, and geocentrism supports a creator, and that's how we have been divided with all of this.
That's just not true.
What part of that?
It is not true that you have to be an atheist to believe that you're in heliocentrism.
Well, he didn't say that. He said heliocentricity is atheistic in nature.
No, it's not.
Okay. Okay. And
I think it does enable atheism, though.
You remember what I said, Nathan, about how I gave it a plea sort of to the view that the nature and the world around us is God's work, right?
Yes.
Right. So whatever it is, I mean that's God's work, and if it's a heliocentric universe, then that's God made it that way. And if you, I don't believe in God, but if somebody does, then they should respect that's how God made it.
Yeah, and to be fair, too, like when I thought that the Earth was a globe, I was a theist as well. So I did believe when I was learning about like binary star systems and exploding supernova, I thought that was an attribute of the grandiose nature of
Right.
our Creator being bigger than everything, magnificent, these huge, powerful events that are just a spectacle, beautiful clouds and everything
Yeah.
throughout the cosmos. That was my thought, but and I think like the Creator I worship could do that, but
Yeah.
the empirical evidence says otherwise.
You don't think it's a salvation issue, do you? That
Not at all.
if you don't believe the Earth is flat, then you're not saved, right?
Correct. There are Christians who are on a globe who are saved. Absolutely, yes. A globe is not a salvation issue by any means. But I will put it out there that I do believe if the Earth were a globe, it would falsify the validity and the authenticity and the accuracy of the Bible.
No, just your interpretation of the Bible.
Yeah, my interpretation would be that
Yeah.
the Bible, a book that says that the Earth is not moving, that it's pressed like a seal, like described as a footstool, shaped like a circle, cannot, and says that the Earth doesn't move, can't support a spherical 3D moving ball. That would be an inaccuracy. So I personally hold the two. A globe would falsify the Bible to me.
And how about salvation? Is it a salvation issue when somebody doesn't believe in God?
That would be.
So yeah, well, I think like in someone's heart of hearts, if they disagree with the message of Jesus, I think that I'm not God and I can't judge. I wouldn't want to be the one who's judging, because that'd be really difficult, I think. But I think many people, even right now, there might be atheists out there who are good people to others and everything. They might even bash Christianity, but maybe they have kind of a History Channel view of Jesus and of God, and God of the Bible was vengeful or violent and didn't like humanity, and then Jesus was just some mystic or something, some kind of smarter than average guy back then. I think that if people really knew that that the Creator has never attacked a person, and this point of Abraham was to show if you ever think you're hearing God and someone and the voice is telling you to kill somebody, the Bible is saying that's not the God of the Bible, because God would never tell you to go through with something like that and to actually do that. And then it says about how that people who were taken out, like in the flood, were continually evil. So God doesn't do that stuff. Jesus loves us, gave us a free gift, showed us how to live, was saying to people, don't kill people, don't attack, don't lie, cheat, steal, don't prioritize your well-being, your treating towards others, loving your fellow man, forgiveness is never mentioned on the news or anything, being peaceful towards one another. And so I think that those things get overlooked, but I think if people have that in their heart of hearts, and they never knew Jesus in this life, I really pray that there's a chance, because I do think if you have a family member who is a believer, you can be grafted in. And so I think God calls it a narrow pathway, but to him, to us, it could be really wide. To him, one person not making it to heaven would be narrowing. But I really pray for as wide of a path as possible.
Okay. We've got Run Boston Bear. Another one. Thank you very much. $20 says a moving sidewalk in an airport goes 1.2 miles per hour. Even if the moving sidewalk was the size of a state, any person would know what direction the sidewalk was going in the second that they started walking. The Earth isn't spinning. And then we've got Earth First Space Later says, I meant coming from a Big Bang theory. Yes. Because you were the one who said that it's atheistic in nature. Yeah, I just think that, one group says that God created everything, and one group says, nothing, or magic or something.
And I think it's certainly possible. It's much more likely that or plausible to be an atheist. Well,
it's much more plausible to be an atheist on a globe,
What's that, balloons?
in a globe model rather than on
What
a
was
flat
that?
Earth model. That was where did that?
What was that?
That's on your screen. That's not me.
Whoa, who did? Was that?
It wasn't
Yeah.
me. I don't know how to do that. I just saw balloons go by your head.
Yeah, that was
That's
fun.
a filter. Was that? That's a filter, I think.
You must have pressed something. I don't
My hands are down low. I don't know. Like
That is very strange.
that was funny. But I think if you're, I don't think I've met a flirter who is a biblical earther who's a flirter who's an atheist, because it would be, I feel like it'd just be really difficult to express, like spontaneous generation has been
somebody say
disproven by
that.
Pasteur.
I think they have existed.
That guy, Flat Earth Reset, said he was one.
He's an atheist.
That's what he said, but I mean, the guy's kind of out of his mind. So.
Is it possible for somebody to be a flat earther and a atheist?
Well, I mean, there's just
Never
no
met one.
describable mechanism for creating a disk world. So, I mean, within the cosmos. I mean, so I think it pretty much leads you in one direction or the other. All right.
Well, and like order and entropy and stuff that they were wound up in the past and are proceeding down. So
Debate, but whatever. Keep up the good work, guys. Kicking Globy's asses. You were on Modern Day Debate a couple times, right?
yeah, I've been on there.
All right, that looks like it. I'll check one more time over here, but I do appreciate you guys being on. I am not positive who's next week, but we will have a show. By the way, the show is changing to 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. That just helps get a couple people in the UK who've been
5
wanting.
p.m. Central.
Thank you.
The only important.
Nobody cares about Central.
time zone.
Okay. Yeah, but anyway, it just makes it easier for people in the UK because they can still come on at like 11 or 10 p.m. Whereas if we get to 6 p.m. Pacific, they can't come on. So that's the show.
The more voices, the better. Jaron, thank you for hosting this.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here. It was very easy.
Thank you.
Much easier than last week. I don't know if you saw my last week was kind of a nightmare, but this week was much better.
Intense.
Let me check one more time and we'll see. And thank you guys very much for supporting the show. You can send $1 if you want to the Cash App, which is $Jeranism. There we go. All right. That is it. Any final words for you guys? But tell them where they can find you and support you and all that stuff if they want to see more of your work. Go ahead first, Nathan.
So thank you everybody for following along, listening. Hopefully we've said anything, things that you can listen to and mull over, and if there's anything that I'm missing or anything, any inaccuracies or anything, feel free to critique me. I'll probably be on this video, but you can find me, and I'm happy to talk about this stuff with people. I think it's really important. Even if the Earth were a globe, I think really the big thing is right now there's a lot of censorship. There's a lot of people in power who don't really like humanity and people living. And we have the technology, and I don't know if they know that or not, but we can all communicate real time, live speed, light speed, faster than sound with each other, faster than weapons can travel. So if we all speak to one another, voice our want to be kind to one another, then we just have these discussions and stuff, and we can progress. But I just really, I think having this technology, the ability to communicate does so much, and it allows us to advance as a society, even in times of being wrong. People are wrong in science all the time, but it's a good progression. But I still think empirically the Earth is planar, and that like even relativity says a stationary Earth. So, and if the relativists say that the Earth absolutely is moving, if they're asked about it, yeah, the globe for sure is. It's still measured stationary from Earth. So anyway, yeah.
Very good.
And thank you again, Brenda and Jaron, both of you, and everybody else for the time.
And I think it's important that you guys met in person. I think that takes care of so much, because otherwise, if you don't see somebody's face in person, you can get away with saying whatever you want on the internet. You can call them whatever name you want, make fun of them. And I don't think you really feel that person is a person, because we're used to, in real life, you have to deal with people face to face. So that's why you don't hear the kind of nonsense going on in person-to-person conversations that you do on the internet, because on the internet people just can get away with whatever. So I think meeting like that helps, because now you guys can't yell at each other and call each other morons. All right, Brenda, where can we find you and all that fun stuff?
Well, I have a channel called Brenda Debates. I might be starting another one called Refute Flat Earth, but
no,
I don't see content on it.
No.
Just put all political stuff on debates and flat earth stuff on that one, but I haven't done anything with it. I'm really super lazy. However, thank you, Jaron, and thank you, Nathan. This was a decent conversation. And everybody should check out the launch of Starship. SpaceX is going to launch here on the 17th, I think it is. And however, Jaron appears to have won his bet, right? They're not going to have that circle around the moon.
Well, I actually was so nice to that guy that he almost cried that he didn't get it, that he didn't research it before he agreed to the bet. So I let him have 2024 as well.
You kicked it out another year, Jaron. You're kicking the can, Jaron.
I kicking the can, the opposite way of kicking the can. Yeah. But I actually did collect.
It's not going to happen this year.
So I actually took home $2,700 yesterday. If you go to BetMoose and look at the, and that's because Bitcoin went up so much since we did that bet. Whoever bet against me, and I don't even know who it was. Most of them were anonymous. They all lost. So
patience pays off.
Patience pays off. Let's see if we can find it up there. BetMoose.
That was it, Jaron. You're gonna give him 2024.
I heard
2025 is the lunar gravity will be much more powerful and attractive and desirable of a location to go.
Maybe that's the case. No, I don't know.
It's in our atmosphere. It's right there.
Yeah, it's right there. Exactly.
No, I'll lay off I know we're in the close down stuff, so I won't.
No, I was going to show this one thing here. If we can go bet, shoot, what was it called? SpaceX Deer Moon. Yeah. So I think Tim Dodd says that he thinks it'll launch in 2028. So that's quite a big difference. Let's see.
It'll be a few years.
Resolved.
A few years out.
Yeah, I mean they've never launched people in it. They're not launching people in it tomorrow. Whenever you said that is Brenda's happening.
No, it's not. No, heavens no.
Okay, I didn't know how that.
No, it's too soon yet. You make sure.
I don't know.
Because there's like a lot of it's so odd that there's such a struggle to get people up and out of Earth, but it was like because of national pride in the 70s, we had to be able to get out then, and we could
because we were fighting against the Russians, the evil Russians, right? And then once we'd done that, the people wanted the money for other things.
But we still would have that like technology, the know-how to do it, and the material. That stuff is all still there and could just be reassembled. Like getting past regardless if you had the resources back then, getting past the Van Allen belts, which are supposed to be harmful to human health, is like just being ignorant to the fields doesn't mean they wouldn't like affect you.
Well, no, of course not. Although I want to say I would gladly volunteer to be to go to a colony on Mars.
What?
I used to think like that.
I am 66 years old. It's not going to be much longer for me. So hell yeah, I would gladly die on Mars. Right? That it would be fantastic.
Do you think you'd make it past the 8-month trip there?
Yeah. I think that my personality is somewhat introverted, so I don't need that much. So I think I would be okay.
No, I mean, I don't know, what's the longest flight you've ever been on?
From Washington to Minnesota, so that's a couple hours or so.
People I've been on a 15-hour.
I've been on a train.
People get off there want to kill each other.
That'd be a long flight, 8 months. I hope it's something bigger than the LEM, like so they give you like a luxury cruiser spaceship, move around and everything.
I think obviously they would know better, and obviously nobody is going to do that. But I'm just saying that I would volunteer because I'm older, therefore I have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
So this is the bet here, the one that was online. Will Tim Dodd fly around the moon in 2023? You'll see the bet has been resolved. So I made the first bet at 0.06. I don't even know what that value is back when I placed it, but you'll see the payout here was 0.0753. So we can put that and see what that is. But it's a pretty good payout just because Bitcoin has been heading up. So what was that? Yeah, 2680. So thank you to whoever bet against me. You shouldn't bet for space.
It wasn't me.
Well, it was these
I didn't think that it would be 20.
And whoever GeForce won, and so did this anonymous person. But then this anonymous lost. This anonymous lost. That anonymous lost 0.02.
Hey, Jaron.
Yeah.
I think what you have to factor in is the president from two terms ago for America. I can't say his name because I don't know some, but he said that they're still working on taking small baby steps to work their way up to getting past low Earth orbit. So you're trying to like that. You're in the stage of we're in the under the Leo stage where we're just making our way there with very small steps over a long period of time.
Is that what's happening? It'll be interesting to see what they do. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, we're not very many years away from them having to I would think they have to do something, either fake it or do it, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
throw a camera on the moon, full view of the globe, live time. Don't give us the clouds that don't change after 25 hours and stay at the same rate with parallax, all staying equal speed, not speeding up as they get closer to your eye, and like duplicate cloud forms and everything. Just give us a real spinning globe.
So let me ask this question of you guys both. So it seems to me that in these debates, the horizon comes up a lot. Isn't the horizon an apparent position? Meaning that for anybody to make a claim about the horizon being that it's blocking things, that it's too high, that it's too low, why is it this dip angle? Isn't that all? Because even in your refraction example, Brenda, it said that it may appear higher or lower.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, depending on refraction.
Yeah, but we're still having people make claims about the horizon that the horizon's doing, but really it's an apparent position, right? It can never be nailed down.
Yeah, but we can account for, we can adjust for that because we know what refraction is, and you can. It's like if you're.
But you would have to know the refraction. You would have to know all the way there. Meaning, if we're looking 75 miles or 175 like Canada, you would have to travel and take measurements the entire way.
You can guess.
Oh. I guess.
Yeah. So then you'd have an approximation, not an actual precise measurement.
Well, so, you'd make an approximation. So if the butcher puts his thumb on the scale, if I know how much, or better, if I know that a scale is always a quarter of a pound off, and I put something on there to weigh this to if I stand on it, I just subtract that quarter of a pound. That's all. And then I have the real weight.
Well, do you think it's important to establish just between the two communities, like establishing what are we looking at? Is it an apparent horizon? Is it an actual horizon? Because like the claims from like Aristophanes and them, Aristotle, watching the ship go over the horizon back then, they claimed that was like physical, no refraction or anything. It was a geometric curve to the earth.
They didn't know about refraction. As far as I understand, they didn't know about it.
Right, but they went around making that claim that the boats going over was evidence of the globe.
Yeah.
And but they calculated using a non-refraction and somehow still got kind of accurate to the globe numbers of today.
Yeah, I think that they probably added that 6/5 after, and then that's what's so weird about it, because they say Aristophanes came within a degree, which is really.
Well, the thing is if the Earth was flat, you wouldn't have a horizon.
What would we have?
It would just go all to gray.
What would happen to the ground? Wouldn't it end at a hard line?
No, it could never end in a hard line. It would always be gray.
Why would the ground that's right in front of you and closer to your eye
in front of you,
to send the visual data, why would that lose out to gray?
Well, misty or bluish gray or whatever,
kind of like what we see.
Because there would be so much air in between you and the distant objects.
Well, that's another thing you said earlier. You said something about perspective doesn't make things disappear, but it does. There's flies out in the street right now that you can't see because they're too far away, and they have reduced their size to zero. Well, not with your eyes.
You could see them if you had a strong enough microscope, binoculars or telescope.
Sure, until they got far away from you, and then there's too much atmosphere in between you and them, right?
Yeah. Okay. It would be the atmosphere being in your way, not perspective. Perspective just means things get small, right? It can't block things.
But it's not just when we're looking out in the real world, we're not just looking using perspective alone. There are the variables of what is in the atmosphere and what visual effects are going on.
That's true. Yes, there's
a compounding of multiple variables.
Right. There's dust and there's haze. There's moisture in the air.
So on an atmosphereless flat Earth, you probably
Yes.
would get like a gray boundary in the middle. Because of these other effects, they cause us to see or resolve.
Yeah, if you've ever
how we
stood
do.
in the middle of grass, like in a big field, and it's a foggy day, you would see a circle around you. It would look like you were
Yeah.
in a circle,
Yeah.
right? But there's no, that would be a hard line, but it would
Yeah,
be.
that would be the fog obstructing your vision, wouldn't it?
correct.
Not perspective.
No, that's what I was pointing out.
But the
Right.
but the fog would simulate debris in the air, things that obstruct your.
No, I
your-
agree with you
prevent
that
you from seeing
fog, dust, water vapor in the air means that we can't see an unlimited distance on the Earth. I don't dispute that.
Okay.
Well, and
Hey,
so
we're
like
making-
what I
we're
would
making
wonder
steps.
then. What's that?
I said we're taking positive steps. I mean, I think the point of this was to kind of have some of these conversations. Let's get to a point where we can agree on some things and then move from there, because it seems like 9 years of not agreeing on anything, which is
And you want to be able to be understanding both sides can say
Yes.
things. We should listen to what everyone is saying, what the claims are, what can we test, what can we show. Are there any on the globe side? Are there any transforms going on? What equations? What are we factoring in? Because like Brenda, you had said that you can treat a plane flying as though it's completely stationary and that the Earth isn't moving and that it's flat because it's simple.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
simpler.
those are NASA documents, and they do say that they consider the Earth flat in those documents. That's true.
And
They
but
do
those
that- they
documents
do
have
that to
very complicated math in them too.
Well, they do that to make everything simpler. It's complicated, but it's still simpler than it would be if you took all the other things into account.
I would think NASA, if you're working for NASA, you're like, bring on the complicated math and
No.
I'll knock it out the park.
Engineers do not think that way. Engineers, they want the simplest possible solution to a problem.
Oh, that's a smart way to approach it.
That's not
Good thinking.
engineers do not want the complicated solution. That doesn't make any sense. If you can get good, of course you want accuracy, right?
Yes.
You want to make sure that I-beam can support the car park that you're building up above it.
But now, if you have if you can assume a flat stationary Earth, which the stationary part checks out with relativity, but now you also now you just, by admitting that there's no motion, you forfeit Coriolis. There can't be a Coriolis effect if everything is appearing like the same inertial reference frame.
But we observe Coriolis, so there must be motion.
Well, the guy who shot, what was it, Jaron? 4 miles, 4.5 miles at a target almost, didn't account for Coriolis at all.
It's literally in the military manuals.
Well, you can write something in a book that doesn't make it true. They're
Well,
writing a book that the Earth is a globe, and that doesn't empirically stack up.
Well, what happened when the UK went to war in the Falkland Islands?
No, that's a fake story. You can look it up.
Huh?
You can look it up. I'll give you the link to it. It's been proven to be a fake story that Neil deGrasse Tyson just likes to tell for some reason. But
Can I get that too, Jaron?
Yeah,
Okay.
he tells a story about cannonballs being launched and that they kept missing, and people laugh at it and they say that would never happen because as soon as you launched a cannonball and it missed to the right, your aimer would tell you to move to the left. They wouldn't bring out the calculator and start doing math and stuff.
Well, and that
Literally what they do in the military is
I'm just telling you what these story. I'll show you the story.
They don't eyeball it anymore.
Well, but if you aimed a cannonball and you missed the boat to the right, you wouldn't just go hit again, miss to the right.
We're
I'm
talking
going to do
about
it again.
cannonball. It wasn't cannonballs. These are this is like shells from a
Yes, and what's the
like
story?
a mortar.
yes, from a large cannon in a modern military ship, right?
But if you miss to the right, all you have to do is say, okay, now we turn a little bit to the left and we'll hit further to the left. Like you can adjust on site and based off of the last result.
That's not what they do in the military. They have people that calculate where they should aim.
Right, but the story is that they started missing, and then the story is that they then remembered that they're in the southern hemisphere, and they did the math again, and then they fixed it. Well, yeah, but people are saying that's.
Well, you say that's a story, so I would like to know more about that. But it doesn't matter because Coriolis is a real effect. That's why we have hurricanes and cyclones.
Yeah, but if that's the sky
planes
moving, it would do the
cannot
same
fly
thing.
like the Earth is stationary then?
I'm sorry, what?
So planes cannot fly like the Earth is stationary then because they're subject to Coriolis.
So this
Coriolis
is
is a very small force. It's easily corrected for. Planes are going have motors and engines in them. They're right.
Yeah.
so I'm
So
going
they're
to
not
give you
affected.
this link.
It's a very small effect on the motion of a plane.
That's one link, but I do have more. That's what is that? Skeptic
okay.
Stack Exchange or something. But they basically are just saying that no, it's a story of, and it's not even like written anywhere. There's nobody who has it. What's going on here? Why is this thing not? I hate my new. I've got Windows 11 now. It's a nightmare. God bless it.
Yeah.
Okay, there. But let me see if that's the right one or if I need the other one. What did I do with it? I'm gonna do it over here. Let me show people just real quick. Yeah, and there's, I mean, he says a lot of things that are a little bit iffy. The whole thing about the Earth being as smooth as a cue ball is completely wrong. They're not understanding.
I know.
Huh?
Yes, I know. I know that one. I know that I looked it up and it was correct.
It was correct that it would be as.
No,
Oh, gotcha.
The criticism is correct.
Yes, because the
over-
equivalent of if
The
you had
Earth would not be smoother than a cue ball.
no, because they are taking the amount that you're able to be off, and they're like assigning it to the whole thing, which would mean that if we had a sandpaper ball, it would also be smoother than the Earth, which is insane. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Right? It's just sandpaper has the nooks and crannies are within the allowable discrepancy for a cue ball. So they take that and they're assigning it like, oh, well, that's shorter than the highest mountain and the lowest trench in the ocean, so therefore it's smoother than a cue ball, but it's not. There would be bumps all over it. Cue ball wouldn't have bumps like that. So
Yo, that Neil coin is way too funny. Just you straight up double
it's
it.
pretty
Like
funny.
he just outrageously calls for that. When we got people suffering on the ground, put up homeless spikes. Are you kidding me?
So it says here, I mean, the physics explanation is correct. The correction due to Coriolis force is opposite on southern hemisphere. The incident is described also in this physics textbook. By direct calculation, Coriolis force is approximately 100 meters, blah, blah, blah. But did this actually happen during the Falkland Islands? And the answer they come up with is no. There's no. It's not written anywhere. It's like a story that's being told, but it's not.
Sure. I took a look at that. And I will admit with you, that it sure seems to be very good evidence that was an urban legend.
Right. Which is, I mean, again, the physics. If they say the physics is right, I'm just saying that
Doesn't mean that Coriolis isn't real.
Nope.
It absolutely is.
No, it just means Neil deGrasse Tyson needs to cállate la
Yeah,
boca.
He likes being in the limelight.
Do you know he tells a story that he was there at 9/11. He saw everything starting to happen, so he went and grabbed his video camera and he saw the second plane crashed into the building. He filmed it.
Yeah, didn't he say he lived like 4 blocks away or something?
Yeah, he says he filmed it. He filmed people jumping off the building, but nobody's ever seen that video. He claims he has it.
I don't know.
I don't either.
I want to think he's telling the truth.
I would like to see the video though.
Who knows?
I would like to see it as well.
It'd be weird
Well,
if you took.
I don't know why flat earthers focus on personalities. Things aren't true because of some personality.
They didn't focus on the personality. I focused on, if I told you that I had a video footage of that day, I was there 4 blocks away and I filmed people jumping off. I mean, you would probably want to see that video. You'd be like, oh, can we see it? And if I just said, no, I'm going to keep it to myself, that's a little weird.
Yeah. Doesn't mean it didn't happen though.
Didn't say that. Didn't say that.
Oh.
All right. And one thing I would tell flat earthers too to continue doing, because I think it's one of the most obvious things that I've noticed, is that never strawman the globe, because the globe proponents constantly strawman the flat earth. I mean, I was watching Toon's video today, the beginning of it.
Have a model.
No, but he puts the pizza disc in space. I mean, they just love to do this because they have to make it look. We don't do that with the globe. We don't make a pretend globe and put it in a pretend place and say, like, look how funny this is, because we can just make fun of your real beliefs. But you guys you assign us beliefs. You say we believe in the pizza space. You believe in the disc in space. We don't believe in any of that.
Well, what do you believe in then?
That the earth is all there is. That's it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I believe that.
Well, you believe
what
that
about
there's
Mars?
Yes, I know, but of course you don't believe that there are no stars.
Well, I don't believe that the stars are suns.
They're not terra firma, things you can land on.
You think Mars is?
No.
No.
Why not?
It's a light.
It's not just a light.
It's just the Earth is the only place life can be.
Mars isn't a light. You can see it.
Yeah, you see the light in the sky.
No, you can see the features from
In,
Earth.
in an artist's interpretation of the data.
No, in a telescope with it in just a telescope.
Ooh, would you be able to show me this?
Jesus Christ. It shouldn't be hard.
Savior.
So you say, you know, talking to pitch Lumin.
I don't understand because yeah, it's not just
King.
people have known about it for a long time. They used to think they saw canals on Mars, and that was an illusion because they didn't have good resolution. But we've got really good telescopes.
So, we have resolution telescopes of Mars. Like we can
We have-
see from the Earth, or is
we
this
have
from
better-
the Mars rover?
We have better telescopes than we did back in the time when people thought there were canals on Mars. Do you think the moon is a rock?
I don't know what the moon is.
Yeah, I would
Maybe
say
a
if you
flat
ask,
moon, maybe I mean, it could be
It
some
has mountains. It has mountains and valleys and shadows.
yeah, I would say that's probably the globe's best evidence to answer your question that you asked Pitch earlier. I'd say for me
Yeah,
at least, the globe is like, I mean, the moon is one where the mountains are weird. They certainly seem like they're shadowed or that they're
There are
some sort of-
features, what looks like features.
So I'd
Well,
agree
what do you
that's
think
one.
they are if they're not mountains and valleys?
I don't know.
I think it just has to do with the charge of the moon. It's how, like, as it's charging up, when the moon is fully charged, there's no room for darkness. But when it's discharging or charging,
Where's it getting the charge from?
The sun.
it's its own light source.
Oh.
No, but where's the charge coming? You said it charges up. Where's it getting the electricity from?
It was built to have a lunar cycle, so it follows its programming.
It has programming?
The lights are set for signs and seasons.
What lights? What are you
The
talking
lights in the sky, the sun and the moon and the stars.
No, but the moon is illuminated by the sun.
In the globe model, that would be a
So-
straw man, because the biblical Earth does not claim that the moon is reflecting sunlight.
I don't care what the Bible says.
At least
It's
my version
obvious-
does.
It's obvious that the moon reflects the light of the sun, right? How do you explain the phases of the moon?
That it's a building up. The moon is accruing charge as it goes throughout the month.
I don't understand how that. I don't.
Maybe the
can't-
way it
let me
moves
be,
through the
let me
field.
be clear. I can't think of a physical explanation that makes sense to me to make sense of what you're saying.
Well, I mean, if you
Well,
believe what we
you're
do,
considering supernatural heavenly things, so there could be some extra. I mean, that's why the sky is something I don't consider primary, for the reason that it's trying to interpret things we don't have ready access to.
Well, it's easy to explain things when you can just say it's magic.
oh, it's easy to explain things if
you
you're
can
the only one
ponder.
who goes to space too.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, Good point.
so the moon is obviously not a light.
It's glowing.
No, it's not. Because
looks like
So what do you
it's
what do you what do you think about what do you
if
think?
it were, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what do you think about the inverse square law of light and how bright we see the moon from here versus how bright it would have to be when the astronauts were there, and then we see video of them and it's not bright at all? How did that happen? Because if you take the inverse square law says that for every half the distance you 4 times the brightness, right? So if we have 240,000 miles. So if you went to 120, then all of a sudden, let's say it doesn't really matter because we'll take a factor of it, but let's say it's 10 lumens at 240,000 miles. And then at 120, it would be 40 lumens, right? And at 60K, it would be whatever that is, 160. And then at 30K, it would be, times 4 of 160. I get to do the math here. Because when you get to the actual moon, you're going to have
640.
What do you have here? So 640, and then we're going to do 640 times 4. Let me get here, because we can act, and we'll stop them 1,000 miles from the moon, so that we're seeing the entire thing. So people will always say, "Oh, you're not looking at the surface area." So then we go to 15K, and we would be at times 4 equals. So it'd be 2560, and then we'd have 7500. Then we'd have 3250, or no, that's not right. 3750. and then that would be equals equals. Then we have 10,240, and then we've got equals 40,960, and then that's it. What, 3750? So 3750 divided by 2 equals so 1875. So we'll just do one more time to get. We'll be able to see the whole moon if we were 937 miles away, right? So then we've got 1875. I'm sorry, what is that? 4960. 4960. 4960 times 4 equals. So we got 163,840. Oops. And then we've got one last time times 4 equals 655,360. So then we're going to divide that by our original 10 to get the factor, and we get 65,000. So it means that the moon, for somebody standing on it or somebody looking at it from 1,000 miles away, would be 65,536 times as bright as it is from Earth. Certainly doesn't seem like that is the case. You would blind yourself. Think how bright the moon is when you look up in the sky. It would be 65,000 times that if you were 1,000 miles away. Now, if we even kept reducing that, take that 937 down to 500 miles, down to 250, down to 170, you would, on the moon itself, it would be millions or billions of times as bright. Doesn't seem like it works well. And then you usually get people, yeah, but it's a reflected light. It's the same thing. Inverse square law works whether it's a light source or whether it's a reflected light. It's whatever light is coming from that item obeys the inverse square law. So I've always found that very strange about the moon. So yeah, I mean, I think the moon is weird. I think that, but I think it could be a lot of things. So just to say, you say it absolutely is this, or it's obviously this. I think you get into some issues when you start.
Yeah, I don't know if it can be a certainty. I mean, it could be a certainty if like we actually went to the moon and got driftwood.
Yes.
I mean, moon rocks. Like if we actually did get some of them and bring them back and things, that would be like a concrete evidence showing. But I mean, there was like an article about how they gave out driftwood,
petrified,
and there was like a woman who got like detained at a restaurant for having, supposedly having a piece of moon rock and everything. And so like these things are, they're like, those are like kind of some of the questionable things from space agencies that I think flat earthers, people who will point out the earth could be flat, those are the types of things. There's a lot of those types of, like, just how the globe can explain little things about like this force over a mountain or something, that NASA has those little blunders all over the place.
Right. So when you're getting closer to the moon, you aren't getting closer to the source of the light. You're getting closer to the moon. The source of the light is the sun.
Yeah, but look into it. It's a reflected light. It's the same thing. Nobody's saying that there's no inverse square law for reflected light. But that's what you're saying. You're saying that it would only be the light source. But the fact is that any light coming off anything obeys the inverse square law. Even if it's a reflected light off of a big dusty ball, it would still reduce at a quarter for every half.
Yeah,
it would get brighter as you go towards it.
The moon only reflects part of the light it gets from the sun. A lot of it is scattered.
So do you see that, like, if when we're saying these things and you have an answer, does it make sense when I say that I think there's a problem with going to the person that we're saying is lying to us and looking for the answer? It is literally the equivalent of us seeing somebody rob a bank and us yelling at Brenda, that guy robbed a bank, and you going up to that guy and saying, did you rob that bank? And he being like, no. And then you yell at us and say, you stupid idiots, he didn't rob that bank. That's what you're doing. We're telling you that NASA's lying to us. And then you're like, no, but NASA says this.
You have to prove that they're lying. You have to prove that he robbed the bank.
Prove that somebody's lying?
You're begging the question because you're assuming that you already know that he robbed the bank and you don't know that.
Can NASA go to the moon right now?
No, we don't have the rockets for it right now.
If they could, that would help their cause of not being fraudulent.
But the point is that in Jaron's example, he presupposes that he already knows that the guy is a robber, and you don't know that. You can't assume,
well,
that's true, the proposition you're trying to prove.
But if we are trying to say whether,
if you want to prove that NASA is lying to you, you have to prove that they're lying to you.
Okay, but let's say I don't know. Let's say I don't know whether the guy robbed the bank or not. The last thing you should do is go ask that guy. That's the last thing you should do.
That would be evidence. That would be evidence that he didn't.
And plus, NASA is saying they could go to the moon, but they also say they can't go to the moon.
No, well, they have plans to go there.
They said they went.
Yeah.
Well, Pan Am was selling flights in 1972, so plans don't really get you very far sometimes. So, I mean, it just
No,
seemed...
we absolutely went there. We left stuff there, and you can see it.
See what?
The stuff that we left on the moon.
How would I see that?
We've launched craft, and I think the Russians too have launched craft, or was it the Chinese?
Yeah, you're talking about the LRO.
They've taken
but those
photographs.
Are like,
they've taken photographs of the original landing site. Yeah.
Have you seen those photos?
Yes.
So the space agencies are taking photos affirming the concept of outer space and space travel.
That's
The
yeah.
Chinese, I think, or maybe it was the Russians, I don't remember which, put a craft in orbit around the moon to take photographs, and they photographed the original landing sites were used back in the 70s, right? And yeah, so they took photographs. So that would be evidence that we did in fact go to the moon.
I mean, it's weird to me that you don't see how naive that position is to think that the people that we're saying are lying to us. Then you're like, no, but we have proof.
Yeah.
They went there and took pictures of where they landed.
You have to prove that they're lying. You haven't done that.
Okay, so proving somebody's lying when they're the only ones who can go to space and they get $80 million a day and I get 10 cents, there's a
They're
problem.
not.
There. What?
They're not the only ones that can go to space.
Who can?
Karen, you're getting tax dollars?
China,
10
Russia,
cents a day.
China,
You didn't know that?
Russia, Israel, and India have all been to space.
Yeah, and you don't think governments
India
work
did
together, huh?
supposedly just go
Yeah.
this summer.
But do you think governments work together?
No.
No, with COVID, they didn't have a systematic thing that everybody
Governments,
followed.
What about the Antarctic Treaty? Isn't that government unity?
we competed with Russia to get to the moon first.
Yeah, but they have there's two different stories that they tell. They tell the American story, and then do you think that that's what the Russians get told in their school, that we
No, I
beat
don't
them?
care what they told.
Well, they
Huh?
tell them they take the high road. They say we were the first animal, we were the first person, we were the first woman, we were the first orbit, we were the first craft to land on the moon. So they tell a whole different story. Then they say the
Yeah, but
Americans.
those are true though.
Okay, but then they say
Yeah,
the
but
Americans were
each
so
side
stupid.
has their heroic feat, and then
Right.
each side has their opposition
Yeah,
that was
so
their
what?
competitor that
So
they
it's
were
a
better
great,
than.
it's a great
Doesn't mean
story.
anything
Pumps up
about
the
going to the
nation.
moon, or it doesn't have anything to do. Yes, the Russians were the first to put, what was it, a dog in the up in
They were the
space.
first to do everything, but it's funny that they were the first to do everything, and then we
They
went to the
weren't
moon.
the first to get to the moon.
Yeah, they were. They landed a craft on
No,
there
they
first.
weren't.
Supposedly.
America
They
just
landed
pulled that
and
one out
crashed.
and
They
went there.
crashed a craft on the moon. Yes.
Right. So to me, it just seems like it's such a likely story that you get both countries get
Yeah.
to tell a different story to their people that promotes
not
national
different.
pride and kind of looks down on the other one, because they tell in Russia that we wasted money. They said Russians knew there's nothing on the moon. There's no reason to go there. The stupid Americans spent all their money, went there and planted a flag, and it was for nothing. That's
It's
what
not
they
a
tell.
different
It didn't
story. I'm
force it
telling
into
the
space
same
narrative.
story. I'm telling the same story. Yes, they were the first to put an object in orbit. That was Sputnik. They were first
Right.
to put.
But do
what
we
was it
tell
called?
our people that it was a waste of time and a waste of money, or do we pretend like we were some great people because we went to the moon?
That we did the greatest thing ever.
It is something great.
If we went there, I'll
at
agree
the
with you.
time.
Yeah.
I'll agree with you if we went there, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's...
Well, you just keep presupposing that we didn't, and you don't know that.
Well,
Well, if we did, but it's like, why would a space agency who's like, yeah, we'll take all of this funding that you give us and use it to go to the moon? Why would they then say, oh, by the way, we weren't actually going to the moon with your money. We were developing Tang, I don't know, something
Velcro.
that like growing cucumbers out of
NASA is one of the smallest.
Mexico.
NASA is one of the smallest agencies in the U.S. government.
okay, so what
That's
difference
why we
does
gotta
that make
double it.
if they get $80 million a day? Brenda,
Yeah,
imagine
it's
you
what
gave me
yeah.
imagine you gave me
It's
$80
the
million
smallest.
one time. What would you expect from me for $80 million?
NASA is the smallest, least funded agency in the entire U.S. government.
That's not true.
I bet. yes,
smallest,
it is.
least
One
funded.
of the smallest.
That's
It's
the
one
least
of the
funded is $80
smallest.
million a day out of all of our agencies?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
They get
Yes.
like what, a half a penny on the dollar for tax
Yeah,
dollars,
it's
but
half a
aren't
percent.
there like hundreds of agencies? So they're all competing for like if there are 500 agencies, each one equally would get half a cent, and if NASA's
No, they
getting-
don't get funded equally.
no, NASA gets a lot more than some, and
Yeah.
some
No,
might
they
probably
don't.
get a little
They're
more than
small.
NASA.
They're
If-
tiny.
But listen what he's saying. If
black
half
budget.
a percent is the least, then it means everybody else is fighting for all those other higher percents.
I bet you that the funding for military marching bands is bigger than that for NASA.
The military marching band needs $80 million a day.
I bet they do. Well, I don't know.
I don't think about that.
I wouldn't $1 billion in
Yeah.
a year.
I don't know
for the
about
If
marching
you
marching
want
band.
to waste money, if you want wasted money, look to the military, not to
They
NASA.
Well,
do a good job of
You
that.
say that though, but again, also, have this country been attacked? So,
Yes, we have been.
When? Oh no, box cutters.
9/11.
Oh boy, yeah, you're right. Found those passports. Thank goodness.
Absolutely.
All right, let's
America does it elsewhere.
let's head out, guys. It's been fun. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for hanging with us for a little extra. We
All
are
right,
heading out.
all right.
I
No,
remi-
it's fine. It's no hard feelings on over here.
No.
Just no.
It's fun.
I
little
just think we
banter.
could have $0 going towards military and then spend it on the people. Give
All
people hammers instead of weapons and build instead of destroy.
Well, I used to say the same thing.
I would prefer to have a military because there's people out there that want to do bad things to the United States.
I wonder why. Do you think that it's possible that these people don't want to do bad things in the United States and it's just a story that's told? Meaning that if you want more tax money, like let's say that there wasn't any threats anymore, people would start clamoring and saying we shouldn't pay so much taxes. There's no more threats. So wouldn't the government create threats? Wouldn't they give the appearance of threats so that they can keep the money coming in?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think wrong. I don't have this opposition to the government that you have.
Wow.
I think it does a lot of good things.
Well,
Well-
how about this scenario too? If I could pose this, like if you like say you two were talking and then you pointed over to me and said, hey, like if Jaren said to you, or Brenda, if you said you were talking to Jaren and you pointed to me and said, hey, that guy over there, he's gonna attack you. You could not know me at all. But now, what is Jaren going to think if I walk up and join up with you guys? Is he going to be on edge, on defense? Is he going to be kind of wondering what could happen? What am I doing? What are my motives? You could just tell somebody something very passively and subtly, and it can mess with their perceptions. It can alter their actions or behaviors. Those types of things. And so doing those little types of like micro fear of be afraid of your fellow man. We shouldn't need that kind of stuff. No one goes around telling, hey, I have this idea, let's go attack people.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. The problem is continuing the metaphor, not you personally, but continuing the metaphor. You have plans to kill us, right? You've got guns pointed at us. You've threatened to use them, right?
Who?
Okay.
Other countries have nuclear missiles pointed at us, programmed for us, and they've threatened.
But you've never seen one of those. You've never seen a nuclear weapon pointed at us. You just are told a story about it that makes you fearful. The difference is you're fearful of that.
Nuclear weapons are just a reality. To disbelieve in nuclear weapons,
and it could just be even
bizarre.
Could be
What?
the threat of something like that is enough to have now. Just by threatening that kind of a war, you can have both established governments can use that fear in the mindset of the people over their people to help keep them. Hey, we're on the risk.
Yeah, that's a conspiracy theory, and you will need to give evidence for your conspiracy theory rather
The military attacks
rather than just
Operation
polling
Large Area
ideas.
coverage. They attack Minneapolis. They spray their own people all the time. There are people who give orders in the military who have no concern with attacking other people, even their own people. They have no concern. So them lying. If you can take a life.
Well, you need to show that. These are just.
But what do you mean to
These
show
are
that?
claims you need to show. You need to give evidence.
You've never been shown evidence that the government is against the people of this country? Have you heard about?
What do you mean against?
Operation Sea Spray, where they went through New York and
no idea what that is.
Look it up. Operation Sea Spray. They went through New York and sprayed aerosols.
San Francisco.
Or San Francisco. Well, I think yeah, right. What was the one in New York called? There was another one that they did. They were driving around a car, spraying flu bug out the back, so supposedly getting everybody sick. But I mean, look at the.
It was Brenda. It was a bacteria that. So someone in our military went above San Francisco and sprayed a bacteria out to the population. They didn't ask everybody in the city, and that could be any city. San Francisco is a placeholder. It could be any city where you or your family lives. Large area coverage was one where they did many big cities. With zinc cadmium sulfide, and they are willing to lay these out in various. If they're release this bacteria here, this chemical here, this in the water over here.
I'll read this part because it says this is from Wikipedia, so it's what you guys believe in. But it says similar biological warfare tests. The Senate committee hearings in 1977, the Army revealed between 49 and 69, open air tests of biological agents were conducted 239 times. In 80 of those experiments, the Army said it used live bacteria that its researchers at the time thought were harmless. In others, it used inert chemicals to simulate bacteria.
They thought they were harmless. Oh, okay.
So that's okay that they hid it from people? They didn't tell people, hey, we're going to be
They
spraying.
thought they were harmless.
Oh. In the 1950s, Army researchers dispersed Serratia on Panama City and Key West, Florida, with no known illnesses resulting. In the 50s, Army researchers dispersed zinc cadmium sulfide, now known as a cancer-causing agent, over Minnesota. There you go. And other Midwestern
there
states.
Are things, governments do things that are bad, and I wish
okay,
they
but
wouldn't.
you made it sound like when we were bringing up conspiracy theories that we're crazy to think that governments or people in high positions would ever do anything negative to people.
No, that's not what I said.
What'd you say?
Just that your conspiracy theory is something you need to give evidence for.
Well, here's I'll let me throw this in there, is that this is not a conspiracy. This is 50 U.S. Code 1520A. And so 1520A Section 2. So what Section A is it says prohibited activities. The Secretary of Defense may not conduct directly or by contact any test or experiment involving the use of chemical agent or biological agent on a civilian population, or any other testing on of a chemical agent or biological agent on human subjects. Exceptions: any peaceful purpose that is related to a medical, therapeutical, pharmaceutical, agricultural, industrial, or research activity. So what they can do is they can say, we're just trying to figure out what this substance does to the human body, or something like that. All
Testing
they have to do
on
is
us.
call it research, and it's passed.
Yeah. So you're pulling individual instances out and blowing them up to be more than they are.
No, that's
good. They're not good. I'm not saying that that's a good thing. I'm just saying it's less than what you claim they are.
Do you think it should ever be done?
Yeah, should I get zinc sprayed on me if I didn't want it or ask for it or anything?
Just because somebody says, "Well, I don't think it's bad for you, so I'm going to spray it on you." That's okay.
I don't think so.
Okay,
I'm just
that's what we're
researching.
saying.
It doesn't mean that there's a vast. You're making a leap that's not justified.
Well, we haven't made that leap yet.
There's a
You're already
vast-
presupposing that leap. We're just saying that you made a comment about conspiracy theories, and I think that's crazy to think that conspiracies don't happen. So,
Conspiracies are not the same as conspiracy theories.
Well, conspiracies are real. They're really, and trust me, I love the optimism of thinking no one would. I want to live in that world badly. I really do. But there are people out there who would hurt others for their own gain. So there are conspiracies, and the military testing. If you get, maybe someone could, and I'm not making any accusations here, but like if there was, if the military released something that got people kind of sick with something, maybe a pharmaceutical person could be like, well, I could make something that counteracts this. And so if you spray this, I can come in with this after, and
you got evidence for that?
It's just an example.
Yeah, you just pulled that out of your back quarters. Yeah.
Those are the things.
Those are the things that you have to give evidence for when you say.
Okay, so
the military could spray the populace, and then pharmaceuticals could have the cure for that spraying.
Well, let's just leave it at the spraying.
Pulled that out of the air. You just pulled that out of the air and gave no evidence for it.
But
okay, how about for foreknowledge of something and then using it in the military? What about when the Rothschilds for the wars in the 1800s, they banked on the British losing and they spread the information that they did, but then when they actually won, they were able, when they had said the British lost, they were able to buy up bonds and everything for low costs.
So they made a bet.
Then they lied about it, and then they actually won. So the price of those bonds went way up. So they made a lot of money. That's using knowledge to conspire against others.
Yeah. So they made a bet then, right? They made a bet.
It's not a bet. It's giving a side misinformation to capitalize on their misinformed selves.
Okay.
That's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
It's deceitful. It's disingenuous. These are tactics associated with people who divide and conquer and have secret budgets and are okay with attacking others or their own people.
You just went further than the evidence.
No, I mean the evidence leads you to that. How could we assume that they wouldn't do things like that? So they're testing on people. They're doing all this covert stuff. They're not telling people. They're not being transparent. But we're supposed to believe that that's where it ends. When we find out about something, it's like that's the most they ever did. They couldn't have gone further than that. That's crazy.
And they've admitted to releasing things on the public which kill our own members of the public. That could be me that gets taken out by a gas and he's down.
What gas?
They dropped gas. I was reading
Bacteria, zinc, cadmium,
Bacteria that
metals.
in New York.
Stratospheric aerosol injections are a thing. Harvard wants to block the sun. They want to spray chemicals in the air to cool the earth.
I think they're already doing it, to be honest with you.
Spiraling.
Didn't ask us.
The paranoia here.
It's not paranoia. Paranoia is when you have no reason to fear. But
you don't have evidence. Therefore, you don't have.
I'm reading you evidence. I'm reading it to you.
No, you're going beyond what the evidence.
So I'll just say, in 1966, they said in the subway system, by dropping light bulbs filled with bacteria onto the tracks and stations in Manhattan, the bacteria was then carried for miles throughout the subway system. Army officials concluded in a January 1968 report that similar covert attacks with a pathogenic disease-causing agent during peak traffic periods could be expected to expose large numbers of people to infection and subsequent illness or death. So,
hey, I quickly do want to throw this out there too. There are people who serve that mean well. Most people who serve mean well.
I agree with that, but there are also people who are do what they're told, which is kind of the same thing that schools output. Schools
educate people.
They do not. Do you know? Have you ever looked at the origins of schools?
Huh?
Do you ever look at the origin of school? Do you know where schools started and what the reasons for it?
The genetic fallacy, because right?
No.
Even now, schools teach a bunch of myths. I'm going through that process myself. Well, that non-life can become alive is a myth that is exactly
abiogenesis. There's good evidence for abiogenesis.
Never been actualized, and it's very far from actually becoming life. It's currently
science is based on evidence. Science is based on evidence.
So why
there's no evidence to support non-life
plenty of evidence. There's plenty
the only observations we've ever made are that life spawns from a previous life form. That's the only observation ever made in the world or in a lab.
That's simply false.
So
what do you mean?
You observe non-life producing life?
What we observe are the precursors to life.
But they have competing conditions. If you get something to form in water, some sort of molecule to form, but then long chain molecules get cut by water through hydrolysis, you're going to lose out. Then you can't form long chains and also form.
They spontaneously self-assemble on a clay substrate.
All of the complicated RNA and the embedded proteins within a membrane.
RNA will spontaneously self-assemble on a clay substrate.
They can't connect RNA right now. They can't get nucleobases to connect.
Lipids will spontaneously form little bubbles, right?
They do. They form micelles, but those micelles are selective. They're not selectively permeable. They're semi-permeable, but they can't let in little things and keep out big things. Or no, they can't let in big things and keep out little things. Our cells are selectively permeable. They can let things in when they want to or what they need.
Because they've had 4.5 billion years to evolve. Yes.
If you could show that. But that's one example of the cart before the horse.
Goes, we know the time, yes.
How do we know the time?
You can
count the years back, 4.54 billion?
No, we know we know the rate of radioactive decay. You can measure it, and then you can figure from that, you can calculate how old certain deposits are.
You know that decay rates have remained the same for billions of years with certainty?
What about the bombardment of asteroids and fires and floods and all stayed the exact same? But real quick, I just want to say, because the education system, if you look into where it came from, it started in Germany, and it started because they were trying to convince the Polish that they weren't not to like Poland anymore, right? So even that guy, the German philosopher Johann Gottlieb Fichte, this is what he wrote about it, and this is before we even started doing, what do they call it, compulsory education here. He said, education should aim at destroying free will, so that after pupils are thus schooled, they will be incapable throughout the rest of their lives of thinking or acting otherwise than as their schoolmasters would have wished. When the technique has been perfected, every government that has been in charge of education for more than one generation will be able to control its subjects securely without the need of armies or policemen.
Yeah. So. That's just the genetic fallacy.
Yeah. The people who started the education.
Nobody gives a damn what Fichte thought. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what the Germans did.
But look what's coming out of schools.
2 + 2 is still 4.
And nobody said it wasn't.
No, you said that they teach lies and myths.
I
plus
just
two
read
is
your.
four.
I just read your quote.
Rat poison is 99.99% good stuff that the academic systems, there's a lot of well-meaning people who teach and everything, but a lot of it is true. There's very little that is actually mixed in religion because it's subtle, but once you can see certain things, it's glaring, like to tell what is myth versus what's real science.
Yeah. Well, yes, people make mistakes, but history, science, math, physics, chemistry, biology, all these things are facts.
Not history is not facts. Don't say that. Come on.
And there are facts within
ridiculous.
science, but there are implications too, or there are inferences.
Yes, of course there are inferences. That's how we reason.
Okay, but
we don't reason. We don't reason by pulling conspiracy theories out of thin air. That's not reasoning. That's an emotion.
But
that's
it's also
irrational.
not reasonable to conspiracies can develop from an invertebrate and then not show it.
Conspiracy theories are emotions. They're irrational.
They're not irrational. If we just are telling you that the government did all these things and then people have a fear of the government, that's not irrational.
I didn't disagree with you. I didn't disagree with your facts.
You did by just saying that it was rational. You said it was irrational.
I didn't disagree with your facts. I disagree with your conclusion.
So if somebody,
if it's not a theory, if they have admitted in their documents that they have attacked our own people before, that's not a conspiracy theory. That is a fact.
I didn't dispute that.
So then, is it still irrational? But is it irrational?
No, it's
how's that?
Farther. You go farther than the evidence allows.
All right, we should go. I don't want to feel like we're ganging up on Brenda. I got to yell at you about something, Lumin. Let's start.
I'm just fine.
You're okay? Okay, good. We just don't want you to feel like.
I am not offended. I am not.
We're not trying to offend you. Good.
I might be raising my voice a little bit, but
we're just trying to talk over each other.
Hungry. I have a burrito that
I want to go eat too.
We'll just stop in here.
1906. Look up the General Education Board's.
I don't care.
What? You don't care what the first mission statement of the General Education Board is?
I don't care. It has nothing to do with today.
Well,
How about Brenda? What do you think about the datedness of our academic system? Like you're taking classes at the U occasionally,
yes.
And so I think it was about 1910, 1911. That's when they set up the curriculum for to decide. Okay, it should take 4 years of college to get your degree and everything. But think about all of what we have learned in any field, history, science, math, from then to now, and they still keep the same standards of what was back then to now. That's actually why currently today only about 3 out of a class of 45 students will graduate on time in a 4-year program.
I don't know why people fail to graduate in 4 years. I don't think it has anything to do with that.
No, their life circumstances. It's just on average, but that's our academic system is very dated and does a lot of things. I mean, keeping kids when they're 5 years old in a room, it can, for some kids, it's not. They need to have energy.
Not for some kids, so all kids want to run.
Yeah, really.
When I take a course on global politics, we talk about current events. We don't talk,
But it's foundational. It's foundational things, like foundational things of the academic system and how they set their standards. Foundational things about biology and evolution, or foundational things about cosmology and physics. There is a lot of truth within those.
Those are just facts. All you have is your religious belief in creationism. That's just a religion.
Yeah, but you're calling history fact. That's a little bit weird.
Yeah, they're historical facts.
And I will admit my beliefs, but I will not ask my beliefs to be taught at public taxpayer expense. Whereas a belief like evolution, for example, is a belief.
It's not a belief. It's a scientific fact.
Okay, how is it a belief? What's the animal before the hippo?
There are precursors we have found to a lot of the fossils. How do you explain fossils?
They're old animals. What do you mean?
How do you explain them?
Animals.
There's animals in the fossil record that don't exist now. What happened to them?
They died out. But what happened with the extinction? Why is there no animal before the crocodile? Why is there no animal before the hippo? Why is there no animal before the giraffe?
The platypus, the kangaroo pouch.
The fossil record is a clear demonstration.
There's no fossil record of any animal before the hippo.
There is.
The hippo just appears in the fossil record. Same thing with the giraffe.
No, it doesn't just appear.
Okay, so show me the bones of a giraffe with a half neck.
They exist.
What? The bones of a giraffe that
Yes.
have neck? Okay, show me that.
Yes, I looked that one up. Yes, there's precursors to the giraffe.
Okay, I'd like to see that.
And
With-
you're
in the
just
fossil
cherry,
record.
and also you're just cherry picking. Like I could show you
I'm not cherry picking.
clear evolution from Pakicetus to whales, from a land animal to a seagoing mammal.
I thought the sea ones went out of the water. The other way?
They went onto the land, became the rat.
Pakicetus was a
cows,
therapsid.
and then went back into the water and became whales.
Some of them did, yeah.
Some of them, yeah. Part of the population.
Pakicetus was one of the precursors for, and there's like a clear line. It's like practically like a flip book. You can see the nostrils go from the front of the snout all to the top of their head.
So if you had like a population of 100 Pakicetus precursors or whatever, and they all, like this group of 100 hopped into this water in this part of the ocean, they're all sticking together the whole time, and they're all deciding we're going towards a whale. That's where we're going, even though evolution is supposed to be blind and unguided and not knowing what it's going towards.
You know as much about evolution as you do about the globe Earth, apparently.
I mean, I don't know if that's a compliment.
I would say that Nathan knows a lot more about the globe than you.
It's a diss. I'm dissing you, right? You don't talk. You don't understand evolution. You should try talking to Aaron Ross sometime. Well, he would be.
Well, I actually, here's the thing. If I could talk to Aaron Ross,
Erica would be.
Aaron will not. I talked to one of the guys he works with, and Aaron told him to tell me he will not let me take his evolutionary challenge, even if I grant him the globe, because he says that if you are a flat earther, you're too far gone in science denial. So he won't even offer me the challenge. But I told him I'm looking for. I'm actively looking for this information because I have an academic research paper that's being held up by evolution. I've talked to professors at my school, at other schools, at other institutions. They all confirm that we have never observed non-life become alive. We've never observed any of this stuff. My teachers have told me that I understand evolution pretty well. And that I ask some questions that are struggling on the frontier.
Well, it's just they can't tell you that it's faith. They can't tell you that it's faith. That's the problem. Science cannot allow that, so they just don't let you.
And actually, Jaren, I asked my biology teacher, I said, what would falsify evolution to you? And she was like, honestly, I have no clue. I can't think of anything.
Rabbit in the Cretaceous.
She couldn't think of a single thing to falsify.
What about like when we have
well supported?
I just told you, a rabbit in the Cretaceous.
Brenda, why do we have millions of years of rock layers with a tree growing up the entire stretch of it?
Yeah. Have you looked for the evidence against that?
No, that's what I'm asking you.
Vertical trees.
Yes, have you looked that up?
No, I'm asking you.
No, because you don't care to. You don't look up.
I'm asking you.
The explanation for those trees is that they require a flood to get there. So that actually works with like a flood, a worldwide flood, having polystrata trees.
There was no global flood. We know that.
Appealing to catastrophe.
How do we know that? What do you mean we know that?
Right, because the geologic strata would be different if there was a global flood.
Why?
What?
Because floods jumble things up.
But moving water can sort rock too.
Yeah. How do you explain limestone?
Like how it
limestone is a sedimentary rock composed of millions of small, very thin layers of deposits, and then it's compressed and heated over centuries. You can't explain that.
Well, you can get some heating, some compression, some moving water, soft materials that harden. I think those things are explainable. Forming of fossils and everything.
I think we should. I want to get. I haven't had supper, and I'd like to go.
She wants her burrito. All right.
Yeah.
Burritos are super
good. I haven't had supper. I had lunch, but I haven't had supper. It's 8 o'clock.
Brenda, are we gonna go get some coffee or something here tonight, or what?
Not tonight. Not tonight. I'm tired.
He's trying to take you out on a date.
That's what coffee's for.
I don't drink coffee either. All right,
Jaren, how about you? You and I gonna go get some coffee?
You live a little too far from me.
You live too far.
Oh, okay. We can meet in the middle, the Rockies.
There you go. All right, guys. We will see you soon.
All righty.
Thanks, Brenda. Thanks, Pitch.
Take care, Brenda.
Not triggered, not upset.
Not upset, not triggered.
No. Flabbergasted maybe in some places, but otherwise.
Hey, the F in flabbergasted stands for friends.
Okay.
Didn't know that. All right, guys.
Or does it start with a PH? Silent letters.
Oh, she's gone. All right. Guys, do your own research. When you do, you'll never again believe all the bullshit you've been taught. Till next time, this has been Jeranism, Pitch Lumin, Brenda with Debatism. Till next time. Peace. Wrong song. Let's do this one.
I know this dude named Jaren and he's looking real fine. And no, I'm not a homo, but I gotta try to make him mine. Cause he holds all of the secrets that the ancients once kept. But the way to Jaren's heart is proving you have once leapt from a volcano or a cliff or an airplane into danger without fear, crying, screaming, waking babies in their mangers. He can smell your fear from 1,000 miles away. And if you try to deceive him, well, today's your last day. You can bet he doesn't want a coward or a liar coming up to him saying, can you be my friend? Maybe you can man it up and lay it down in front of him, show him you're strong enough to go out on a limb. He's got enough ladies lining up around the block to fill 747's loading number on the clock. A lot of men are crying every single day, praying for a Jaren day, but they can afford the price to pay. All the women want him and all dudes want to be Jaren, but the fact of the matter is, there's only one Jaren. He's got an internet following that forms a giant group. He can translate ancient tablets using alphabet soup, which he rarely even does, though it fetches big money. He doesn't even need it cause he sweats pure honey. His fans send him gifts, make him gifs, jump off cliffs, just for the once in a lifetime honor of seeing Jaren take a sip of his famous oat stew. That's right, he's a stew chef. You may say, what's a stew chef? Well, you've probably never seen a stew chef, cause there's only one stew chef and it's Jaren cooking it up.